Oh, nice.
So and he goes off-site and records.
Does he do all the surrounding towns?
Yes, he does do this.
Oh.
The sports games and.
Are we good, Chad?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so if you look at the bottom of page 3, I added in an accessory dwelling unit permit procedure. There's a lot to this. I think basically I copied it from the building permit. I think that's what we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So under C, I had a question for, oh, I'm sorry, under B. Is 3 working days an adequate amount of time for this?
Yes, it would be.
I think it should be consistent with them all, so if we felt that 3 was okay for the permit, then I would recommend it here as well. One thing that I would potentially propose a change for, in section A, accessory dwelling unit permits are required in the town of Fairfield prior to the start of construction when any owner or authorized agent intends to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, remodel, move, demolish, or change a building or structure. Should we say a building or structure for the purpose of an accessory dwelling?
Yes, I think that clarifies.
Because if you're just demolishing your shed, you
Right.
don't.
It has
you
nothing to
wouldn't-
do with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So under C, I had a note. Do you want to keep the 365 days after issuance?
I think we should, it's consistent.
Yeah, it keeps it, I agree.
And then it keeps it fresh on your mind too, Nicole, or the CEO for the town, because if.
They don't start work.
Right, for 3 years, then
Right.
How do I know?
that, or there
Exactly.
could be a change of CEO, I mean,
Correct.
so.
So 1 year. If they don't start work, then I just close the permit. It's
Okay.
not started.
So D1 at the top of page 4, if the town does not have a public sewer system, if connected to a municipal sewer system as defined in this ordinance, proof of adequate service or service to support any additional flow created by the unit and proof of pay, that's not applicable to Fairfield, correct?
It
There's-
is.
This is,
Would that be
Not-
like if there's a private wastewater system?
Like a septic system?
no, not like that's the next one.
I'm thinking like a trailer park might have their own small wastewater system for the units, but
None do.
I don't, yeah.
No.
Okay, so that is not applicable, correct?
D?
I would say the note is not applicable.
Yes, that's what I
in
was asking.
D1, because
D1.
1 starts out with if connected to the Kennebec Sanitary Treatment District, which that should be Town of Fairfield, not KSTD.
Right. Town of Fairfield Sanitary District. Well, it is KSTD, but it's the town of Fairfield that
The Town of
controls
Fairfield
it.
owns the collection
Right.
infrastructure, so that would be.
So it'd be
connected.
Town of Fairfield,
Yep, sewer system.
Yep.
and I'm capitalizing, it's the name of it, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Town of Fairfield sewer system. Does float to KSTD, but with all the infrastructure in town is controlled by Public Works.
What about the Kennebec Water District
That
system?
is a public system.
That is correct.
So that one's correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the note there under 3, is that also not applicable?
Do any of the trailer parks in town have their own water system?
They do. So they do have like a
So I think that one.
community wellhead.
So leave that one.
I think that
Correct.
one is applicable.
Right.
Okay. What about on to E?
That is correct, right? That's what the state
Well,
law
that's,
says.
yeah, I mean.
So it is correct. That's what the law is.
So I have started a list of things I'm unsure about as it relates to this LD 2003 thing, and one of them is the question that was brought up about setting parameters for the maximum square footage for accessory dwelling units. What we had talked about was it can't be larger than the existing dwelling unit, but that might be problematic if there is not yet an existing dwelling unit. So that might be something that we need to.
Could we say existing or proposed primary dwelling unit?
Yeah, we can.
Because if somebody was, say, building a new single-family home, you would have that information up front with a.
Correct, they want to do 2,000 square feet, and we know that's
Right.
their primary dwelling. Then the ADU cannot exceed
Right.
primary.
Right.
It can equal it. If that's what you guys so choose.
Excuse me.
I think it's something that we could discuss as a board. I feel like if you have a 3,000 square foot house, is another 3,000 square foot house an accessory dwelling unit?
Could be.
Right. Just something that we could consider.
Right. Right, because a lot of families want their adult children to build on their land. So certainly if they have a young family and 2 or 3 kids, and the parents give them the land, they may build equal size to what the parents currently have on their land. It's a possibility.
There's a lot of apartments too.
Correct. All those, any type of dwelling unit, like, you know, size-wise, there is a minimum that the state has, but there's no maximum. So it's up to you guys to come up with, do you want to set a maximum?
Right.
I would definitely set a maximum just until this legislation the town gets more familiar with these new.
Yeah, I think it's
Parameters.
necessary.
I do too.
Because things could go.
Yeah, I would say, my opinion is no larger than the existing dwelling unit. But I would say I'm open to discussing an actual number also.
You could see how it goes with the way that it's worded now.
And
No larger
revisit it.
than, yeah, yeah. That would be an
Right, if we
easy
start seeing
change.
issues with it,
Right.
we just go through this process again.
Correct.
I think cost of construction is going to keep those to a minimum.
I agree. And then if it becomes a 2-unit duplex being built, that's not an accessory dwelling unit anymore, is it?
No. No, that would be different.
Right, because an accessory dwelling unit is a single family
Yeah,
structure.
right.
But that said, an ADU in F can be any of those 3 things. It could be attached to the primary, it could be detached,
Right.
and it could be in one of your already existing outbuildings. Your garage could be converted to your ADU. So could it eventually be a mirror of what is already existing and look like a duplex? Sure, it could
Right.
be.
I'm just thinking if I have a 3,000 square foot house and I want to build a duplex with each unit being 1,500 square feet, would that be an ADU?
It might be. I mean, it would.
They don't, it's not clearly defined. I
Correct.
mean, I feel like the state left a huge gray area with that. Somewhere it's noted in that paperwork that I gave you guys that it's really not clearly defined.
That would be better left up to lot sizes and we're looking at.
Right, and it still does fall back on that too with density.
Correct.
Right,
Could be approved with conditions that
right.
if you got 50 acres and you want to build a large house,
Correct.
Okay.
So the appeal procedure's the same?
It would be.
Everybody's good with that? 3.5, conditional use permit. This is, I just added, as deemed necessary by the code enforcement officer. On top of page 7, I just added a partial sentence under the following procedures. These are just little
Just
things.
clean it up.
Yeah. Oh, I added a definition for level of service D. That's what I found. It wasn't really defined. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know any better, so.
What's that?
I don't know any better, so.
Yeah, I don't
At least
either.
it directs you to the chapter
Right.
and the rules
Right.
Yep.
where they could get more information.
And then down to J, Land Use Board of Appeals pursuant to the statute, zoning adjustments, blah, blah, blah. And then K, if the appellant is dissatisfied, the next procedure. I just changed some of the language in 3.7 B and C.
Where are you now?
Page,
9. I'm just about in 3.8 duties of the code enforcement officer. I just kind of fixed some of the wording to make it more understandable. There's no real like substantial changes after this, I believe.
just grammar.
Yeah, basically. I added land use in front of Board of Appeals. I changed it to member of their household instead of family member. This is all stuff that we discussed.
Correct.
Decision rendered, so appeals procedure, top of page 13. Decision rendered by the code enforcement officer or the planning board. Again, these are all things that we went over. At the bottom of page 13, number 5, each appeal shall be accompanied by the required fee to cover advertising and administrative costs. This is, again, stuff we talked about. I just added it in there. Please let me know if I'm going too quickly. All right, now we're on to Article 4, amendments. On page 15, C3. I didn't pick this up before. It says the date of the publication shall be at least 12, and then in parentheses, it's got a 7 days prior to the public hearing. Which is it?
I would say 7.
I agree.
Yeah,
I was
it's
thinking
usually,
7.
12 is a really weird thing. Typically, something's advertised 7 days before.
Right, that's what I thought, and I wasn't sure
It's a
where.
week.
So 7 days.
7.
Do we want to change the notice shall be posted in the town office to at least 13 days prior to the hearing to 7 days prior to the hearing?
I think that would be plenty, 7 days before.
Yeah, I
the
think those
meeting.
should be the same.
Yeah,
so.
that should all be consistent. And that gives people a week to plan.
Right, because it's likely going to be the same person who's posting it in the office and getting it distributed. So if it's the same day, that would be easier for them.
So something I was going to bring up in the next article, in instances like this where it's a number below 10, I'll leave it this way where it's 7 spelled out and then 7 in parentheses. But in other instances where it's like 365, I don't see a need to spell it out. I'm just going right with the number. I don't know why it was done that way initially. It's,
Yeah, that's like redundant.
yeah. So I'll go back through and make sure it's all consistent as we
Right.
clean this up. All right, top of, well, middle of page 16, E. I think this is something that we talked about. If everybody's good with that.
So that one is 13 as well. Can we change that to 7?
Yeah.
So if we're going to do that, then C5 is 14 days. Notice to abutters.
C5 is.
And does it have to be certified mail? I mean, why don't we just send it first class mail? I mean,
Do we get does the town receive receipt of delivery with first class? Because I think getting receipt of delivery is the
I think that's the
important part.
purpose of the certified
oh,
Yeah.
mail.
all right. So that's like $10 letter versus a 65-cent letter.
So this should be 7 also?
Yeah, 7
Yeah,
days before
I
they
feel
meet.
7 would be enough, but if anybody else on the board feels like, I think the most important one is probably the abutter notification.
Correct.
They're typically going to be the entity that's most,
Possibly aggrieved.
yes, so.
I
think-
agree.
I think 7, but I would be certainly open to another number.
7 should be fine.
I think if it's too far in advance, it gives the opportunity to forget about it too.
They will, right, right.
So is everybody good with the wording under E? And if I change it to 7 there also?
Sure.
All right, moving right along. Article 5. Nothing on page 1? Oh, okay. So on page 18, we kind of were going back and forth on the wording for the expansion of a nonconformity. So I reworded what we initially had, and then I provided an alternate wording option. Let me know which one you prefer and which one.
I thought D was good,
D was good?
myself.
Okay.
I don't know what Max thinks.
It's pretty clear. Laterally, they could expand. As long as they're not going any closer to the water body.
Okay, so I'll get rid of E if everybody's good with that.
Yeah.
And that's it. All right. Awesome. Article 6. So this is a lot of changes here. I think Max and I went back and forth with adding, under the title of 6.1, I suggested making it the official land use map, and he suggested adding in district because essentially that's what it is.
Because if we look at the land use, if we look at this map, it's land use district map. So I just wanted to make sure that we were saying exactly what's on the official map. That way if anybody's like, well, that's land use district map, where's the land use map?
Correct. I think it should be there. And on that first sentence, after it says land use map, the official land use map, which, get rid of the A, which is made without the letter A there.
Okay.
And then Jessica, I didn't go through and add district everywhere. So I was hoping that you could make a note to
Yeah.
add district
Autofill it.
everywhere.
So Nicole, you said,
After the word,
yes.
Which
No, I was
is-
talking about the detail maps A and B.
okay.
Are those,
Do they exist?
yeah,
They do at the office. I don't think they're up on the wall.
Because this map references
Correct.
detail A and detail B.
So they're, right, they're at the office, the main office. They have, like, Shawmut is blown up a little bit more, and I
Okay.
think the, I know that's one of them.
do you think they should be attached, like in here?
To the ordinance?
I think they should be attached on the website link,
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be
absolutely.
nice.
because right now you cannot find detail A and detail B
Right.
online.
Okay. So I'll ask the clerk if she can attach those to the web.
If it's a matter of scanning like a large format map, we can do that.
Okay.
We have a large format,
Scanner.
yeah.
I don't know if they have it large or if it's small, but I'll ask. I know it's at the
I
office.
wonder-
I've seen 11 by 17, but I don't think it's quite that size.
You know, I bet that Joel did that
He did.
recently.
The last time it was amended, which was 20, is it 18? 17,
Well,
18?
KV Cog made it.
Right, that's
So
what I'm wondering. It's-
I would
I-
imagine you might be able to find a PDF version
Yeah.
of all of it.
Right. And if it wasn't Joel, it was Chris before him.
I'll look into that.
Thank you.
And you'll see about attaching them?
Yep,
Although
I-
you might need an electronic version. Also, the shoreline zoning map, I think you and I talked about that. That's,
A handwritten map. It is not digitized.
is that,
That's work in the future as the taxpayers can afford to hire and have it digitized, but it has not officially been digitized.
is that something that you want me to talk to Joel about to see if,
If you want to give a price quote to Michelle on digitizing it,
We could include that because we're planning to do an ordinance a year also.
correct.
So we could look at making sure that the cost, when we get to shoreland zoning, making sure that the cost of digitizing that map
I'm
is included.
wondering if he would even, what that would fall under for him, because essentially that's part of updating, in my, the way I see it, part of updating this.
That's the section. It doesn't-
I'll find out.
Yeah, it might be a good conversation to have with Steph.
Yeah. I thought putting the districts at the very beginning of this kind of made sense, so you could see how they're broken out. That wasn't there before. If you guys think that looks, if it's jumping the gun, let me know.
I like it there.
I think that's helpful.
Hey, you don't have to look for it.
Right.
Correct. And what the abbreviations are. It's
Right.
right there.
So, of is on, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Max made a
Oh,
comment.
the blue, yeah.
Yeah,
I have a comment on B.
okay,
Immediately beneath the entry, the town clerk shall place her, their signature. It does not include the chairman of the planning board. All official, like, once the town council takes an official vote on the land use map, the town clerk certifies it.
so it's not the chairman of the planning board at all?
Correct, not at all, no.
Oh.
We do the recommendations, town council does all the yes and no voting.
Okay.
On all suggestions made here. All we do is suggest, and then once they take an official vote, she officially signs it for the town, as this is the new document, this is the new map.
Okay.
It doesn't come back to the planning board for any signatures.
C is just a few small word changes. A lot of this is just small. I added in under 4, map of the following rules shall apply, the federal emergency management.
Yeah, I thought that was a good addition.
Yes.
Okay. And that was, the latest is
Yeah.
88, right?
Yep.
Right.
Fairfield's lagging behind from
They are.
FEMA.
All of Somerset, well, you guys are Kennebec, but,
No, we're not. We're Somerset.
oh, okay.
So the entire county is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought B, 1, and 2 were extremely confusing. So I provided alternate wording.
I like the original myself,
Okay.
but that's me.
What's everybody else think?
What do you like about the original wording, Nicole, that isn't included in the alternate wording?
Let's see here. I put, okay, when a lot is divided by a boundary, the requirements of either boundary may be used. On lots of 2 acres, the district, I'm trying to read it with the changes that Tasha's made. Whatever the frontage is of the lot, you know, I believe that that's what we should stick with, and if the back of the lot is a more restrictive, I think that should apply. I don't think it should matter 2 acres or less. I think
that's what it was originally, though.
oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. It's saying that essentially if your lot is split by,
2 acres or more?
yeah, then you look at what, if you're building on, say, a rural residential, that's what you apply to that area. On the other area of the lot, it's a different regulation.
Different district.
Different district. If it's
Yeah.
2 acres or less, then it's you pick and it should be applied to the whole lot. Doesn't matter the boundary.
Okay, so the property owner picks.
Correct.
We don't pick.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
According to
then
the
fair.
original.
Okay, then that's good. I thought that we were going to be picking.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that,
No, that's right.
because I think the property owner should make
So,
that selection.
in the alternate wording, when a land use district boundary line divides a lot or parcel of the same ownership of record at the time such line is established by the adoption or amendment of this ordinance, the regulations applicable to the less restrictive portion of the lot may be extended not more than 50 feet into the more restrictive portion of the lot, subject to the approval of the planning board. So that's taking away, if you have a 1.5 acre lot that's split between 2 different districts, then you can only extend the less restrictive rules 50 feet into the more restricted area.
Unless the planning board, can they come to, oh, they have to come to the planning board to get that 50-foot waiver? Okay.
And that's only for lots that are 2 acres or more.
So that's being less restrictive than what it was before. So it's, before it was, it's a hard line.
Right.
Nothing
No
onto.
50 feet.
No 50 feet. The alternate is you can get 50 feet beyond the actual line.
If you come to the planning board and
Correct.
ask.
Right, and you guys get the final review on it.
I personally feel like the alternate is not harming the town by making it a little bit more flexible, and it still gives the planning board the ultimate say. Unless, Nicole, you feel it's going to be hard to regulate.
That's what I was wondering, if that would be,
Because I don't want to burden the town employees on regulating this stuff.
It shouldn't be hard to regulate. There are not many lots that are straddled by two different districts. They're usually hard in one or the other. There might be just a few larger parcels that may occur on. But, you know, if they want to develop that extra 50 feet in the less restrictive zone, then I think they should have the option to ask the planning board for that. I think that's a good idea.
And most of the lots that do have a split on them, it's significantly off the right-of-way where that split occurs. So
Right.
development is much less likely to occur, and if it does, it'd likely be a large-scale development.
Sure.
So they'd be coming to us for
Anyway,
a lot of stuff.
Subdivision or,
Yeah.
right.
so is everybody good with the alternate for 2 acres or more?
Yep. As long as it doesn't drive Nicole crazy.
Nope, nope. There-
That's
like
the
I said, there are
important
very
thing,
few
because
lots.
you're really the one administering this. I don't so under C, I don't know what it was talking about with cultural, so I got rid of that. D, designation of districts, if you want to read over. I think it's just adding in context, really. The purpose of the districts. What are the growth areas?
So in the comprehensive plan, I highlighted like where they potentially saw development was
cool.
going to occur. So it's page 79, under projection.
Oh, cool, thank you.
So what it says in the comp plan is they were foreseeing, you know, some parts of Upper Main Street, Route 201. They identify like the main corridors, 201, 139. So that's pretty much what was identified in the comp plan. Those areas.
I might just put this in here like verbatim. I think that,
That's probably best.
Yeah.
It's in the comp plan versus right out of the comp plan. Oh, you already have those.
so is everybody good with the wording, and I'll add in what the growth areas are? Yep, okay. So for the rural, I feel like the districts weren't defined real well. So I added some wording. If I'm off the mark, please don't hesitate to let me know.
I felt that they weren't a lot, they were very similar.
Yeah.
There wasn't a
like
lot of
kind vague.
distinction between one versus the other.
Right.
Correct. Right, you can't tell if you're looking at rural, do they mean farmland and, you know,
Right.
Other than, I mean, me reading through the descriptions would be like, okay, my house fits into the rural district, the rural residential district, the rural, or the residential district, like, there's a lot here that's kind of overlapping, in my mind, in various areas of the town.
But they're going to anyways, aren't they, some of them?
Yeah, so I think it comes down to the numbers.
like the density of how
Yeah,
close do you
that
want the
make that
houses to be?
distinction.
Yeah.
So do you want to keep what was there, or?
I like the edits that you've made through these. I do think it's important that we have kind of a description because it allows us to fall back if there
Yeah,
are
I think so
questions
too.
around a development. We get to come back to these descriptions and say, yes, this development is still allowing a healthy agricultural, forestry, and resource base for the town.
Right, it's protected,
consistent with the definition.
right. I like what you added also.
So for the rural district, I'll get rid of what was initially there and just put in the alternate wording if everybody's good with that.
Yep.
I like it.
Residential district, I didn't change all that much on that. Rural residential, similar in nature to the rural district, but more suitable for appropriate residential housing.
Yeah, I didn't like appropriate.
Me either, but I couldn't come up with anything.
Again, I felt like it should be more descriptive.
I like that you suggested medium density, but I feel like I need your feedback on that.
Well, it's still a rural district, so it's rural residential. It's not as spread out as the rural district, but still, the purpose of it is to keep houses not as compact as the residential district.
So medium density would fit the bill?
I think that would be a fair
Well, we
description.
say medium density in residential, we say low density in rural. So the rural residential is like kind of in between. I
Yeah,
didn't know like what to say for that. So I felt like probably medium was more appropriate
Right.
than low.
correct.
So is it okay to say medium density as opposed to appropriate?
I think it would be.
Yeah,
Okay.
better, I think.
Yeah, it sounds nice. Matches the other descriptions.
Urban, I'll let you guys read through that. Is everybody okay with the urban?
Yes.
Please let me know if I'm going too quickly or too slow. Village I had a hard time with. It seems like that's where the character of the town is, and I feel like it should be described well, but in part, I don't know Fairfield well enough to really describe it well.
So there's 3 villages. There's one that's the Hinckley Village, which is almost to the outside, it's the green, almost heading out of town towards the Sappy Mill. Then you have the Shawmut Village, which is down by the dam. And then you have the Fairfield Center Village District.
Okay.
So those were the 3 original villages when the town became a town. They were all individual villages of their own and then incorporated into Fairfield.
What do you guys think about putting the names in there?
Hinckley, Shawmut, and Fairfield Center.
Yeah,
What do you guys think?
I don't know if,
Think it's necessary?
I don't think it's necessary.
okay.
I mean, I like the idea, I like the description, how you edit it, other than locally oriented.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to say like, because I think the goal of the commercial development in the villages is to provide easily accessible services to the residents who live in those villages.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I don't know if like walkable commercial development makes sense or easily accessible.
Easily accessible. That should cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could say a healthy mix of easily accessible, like local servicing commercial development, or something that's trying to tie it back to it should really be focused on that village area. Because if a Walmart came into Shawmut, it wouldn't really be,
A distraction to the
it would really.
residential.
Right, it wouldn't necessarily be something that's to serve the Shawmut residents, it's
Right,
to serve everybody in the town.
correct.
okay, that works.
You know, years ago, most of Fairfield had a store on every street.
Street, the corner stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that works. The Main Street District.
I think it's a good edit, the way you did it.
Okay.
Efficient access to shopping and services.
I didn't like shopping. I couldn't think of another word besides like, because,
Retail, efficient access to retail.
yeah.
Yeah, retail.
I like retail more than shopping.
I do too.
Okay.
I just could not come up with like
I know, that
Walgreens.
happens.
What would I call Walgreens?
Family Dollar.
You can only stare at this for
Grocery
so
store.
long without losing words.
Right.
They may be gone, you never know, I don't know. They'll say, what's Walgreens?
Commercial districts?
Their name will change or something.
Oh, and then there's a alternate wording option.
On commercial.
Yeah.
I would, on the alternate, I like the alternate, but I didn't like the large scale. You know, I don't know. It's just providing opportunity for commercial and industrial uses, I think. Whether they're large or small scale.
That's what I put as a comment too in the alternate wording.
Oh, okay.
Was should large-scale development be pushed to the industrial zone, not the commercial district? Because our commercial district is our like Western Avenue
Corridor,
area.
yeah.
And we wouldn't want like an industrial manufacturing facility
Right.
to be right on one of our major through roads.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like maybe medium would be a compromise here for, because we wouldn't necessarily want to, if an industrial user came to a commercial district, we might not want to say no.
Correct.
I think if you don't address it, it kind of leaves it up to your,
Right.
Purview.
So I think just leave the size off
Okay.
and let them apply.
Sure.
Okay.
so it's the,
For commercial and industrial use.
the alternate wording.
Yeah. I liked, well, that's up to you guys. You didn't even read it. Read that, but.
If we had a big company come in, could always make a change. And Waterville does that all the time.
Yeah, I'm kind of backtracking a little and I think we might want to put small to medium.
Before commercial?
Yeah.
And
Because
large.
if somebody comes in with a large-scale commercial operation and they meet everything else, we don't have any way to
Yeah.
push
to say,
back.
Well, we specifically left off large.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want it there.
Yeah.
Do you want a size or,
I think small to medium,
okay.
reasonable.
Flexible anyway.
Yeah, I think it gives us flexibility.
But then you may need to define that. I don't know.
Well, in their
As determined by the
chart, they
planning
do
board?
have a chart of land uses, and there is different sizes in there of the buildings.
Okay.
So maybe
Oh,
that's,
all right. So, I don't know if you had a chance to finish reading that.
I think that's a good edit that you made.
All right. So everybody's good with that?
you good with that, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's going to say small to medium.
Yes.
Okay.
Industrial district, this one's a little bit less descriptive. I also don't understand the wording employment uses.
Under industrial?
Yeah, variety of employment uses.
Yeah, that's weird. A variety
Right?
of employment.
Opportunities?
Opportunities, employment opportunities would be a better word than uses.
It'd be something like you got paper maker down there, and you may have a garage, somebody's building something.
Right. Different
Different type of
opportunities.
industry.
Right, different opportunities, not quite uses. Is everybody good with the edits on that one?
Yeah.
I already read it.
Okay.
Well, I haven't.
Okay.
Land use activities permitted by the district. The North American industry classification system. Why is that bolded? Is that something you actually use?
We can reference it, that it's just directing us that if you can't figure out what type of business this falls under, you go to that document and see what they have it categorized as. Is
Okay.
it manufacturing? Is it,
Do you actually use that, or this was actually questions Max posed?
we may use it.
Okay.
I have not personally used it and haven't seen the planning board use it in the years I've been here, but it's a tool that they
Oh, so
could
it's a
use.
planning board that uses
The town
it?
council might use it, might they?
Right, they might reference that.
Right.
Like, so if development wants to come here and we don't know how to categorize it in our chart of land uses, we might have to go to that document to see where does this particular development fit.
So that may be the determination.
It might help guide us.
Okay,
It's just a resource that we can look at to help make a decision,
okay,
how to categorize a business or a potential applicant, what they are bringing forward.
okay. So, but it doesn't really need to be
Bold.
bold?
No.
Is everything else in there good?
Yes.
The paragraph after that, there's several edits.
They all looked okay to me.
Everybody's good with those? And then I stuck the abbreviations again. So then we're talking about the letters appearing in the table. I suggested that instead of just using A equals allowed building permit required, I mean, there's uses that are just allowed, and then there's uses that you have to get any number of various permits for through you.
So you could put building permit may be required, or no, building permit is required for structures. So they are allowed, but they still need to pull a local building permit. It's
Right.
nothing to do with the planning board, but if they look, then they'll be like, okay, I don't need to go to the planning board, but I need to go see the building
Okay,
department.
so maybe we don't need the P permitted?
Would there be anything that's allowed without a permit?
If somebody in the rural district wants to do a farm stand and they're putting up a little lean-to to shelter them while they're out there displaying their vegetables, they don't need a permit for that. That's,
According to this, you need a permit by rule for a farm stand.
I know,
That's kind of crazy.
it is, because
That was one of my questions in here.
it's just a little outbuilding force. I mean, the only thing that I would review is to make sure they're out of the town's right-of-way, so that we're not pushing snow on their little structure come winter if they don't pull it back away from the road, if it's not a cart. But right, they would not necessarily need a permit from me, unless, of course, they're building a huge garage and opening the barn doors, and that's their farm stand is, a 40 by 60. It depends.
But by keeping it allowed, building permit required for structures,
They can come talk.
right, you'll just tell them no permit.
No
Right.
permit is needed, go ahead with your 4 by 8.
So there's
farm
really no
stand.
need for,
I think no need for P.
yeah,
I
I see
agree.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're getting into these fun tables. I broke them apart and I added agriculture. So this first one is going to be open space and resource uses. I'd like to make that natural resource uses. I didn't put that in there until I just thought of it now.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't know about you guys.
And I added agriculture and forestry operations, farm stands, and campground. I don't know if campground,
Under agriculture and forestry operations, you have an A under residential. Can we put that to an X? Because that residential district is the yellow, and I don't think you have any,
I might have copied it wrong.
oh, no, that, I mean, I'm just suggesting that it be an X.
Oh, oh.
Because I wouldn't
Oh,
want
it-
them,
Okay.
I don't, whatever you guys want to do, I'm just letting you know that that yellow district, typically timber harvesting would not occur in that district anyways. There's not really a lot of timberland
What
for
would you put
timber
it,
operations.
what would you put it down as?
Not allowed.
Not allowed in residential.
Okay.
I mean, you can harvest, but there's not a lot of land in residential, so I can't imagine somebody is going to do a huge timber harvest in any residential district.
Oops. Is everybody good with that?
Do we want to, how does the board want to review these? Do we want to go through each one and like,
Each
look at
one.
them, line by line?
I think we should
I agree. I think that it would provide us I mean, this is our chance to
clean it
make
up.
changes, clean it up.
Right.
So,
Okay, so starting with open parks, parking lots and cemeteries?
I think,
That's kind of an odd combination.
yeah.
yeah, cemetery seems weird to be included.
Yeah.
Private cemeteries, it is weird, but they need to, I don't know why cemeteries are there, but.
Some
if-
towns count those towards open space.
Oh, do
I mean,
they?
because it's,
Public access, so you can go walking.
yeah.
I mean, I think all of them would be conditional anyway, in all the districts, so
I think that's good.
they can stay lumped.
Right.
Recreational facilities, so they're all good with a conditional permit and
Permit to the
every-
board, yeah.
Okay,
And I agree on recreational facilities. Every single district
Yep.
should come to the board,
okay.
unless you guys don't want recreational facilities in certain districts.
I could see an argument for them being in all the districts.
Right.
Gravel pit extractive operations?
I would say in residential, it should be prohibited. That's just a suggestion.
What about in our like commercial area? Would we want to,
That's such valuable land, I don't know.
right, I would be concerned if there's just a massive pit created, but by keeping it conditional use, somebody could come in and make the argument in front of us at that time.
True.
So the only one that will be changed for this is residential?
Yeah, I don't think residential should be a conditional permit.
Right.
Because I know we had it wasn't a residential area, but there was a landslide up there and 2 or 3 kids got buried. And so if you got a gravel pit here and there's,
Yeah.
you
Residential.
get play in there,
district.
it's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not compatible, really.
No. Is that the only one, though?
probably rural residential be the same, right?
Well, they're a little more spread out. I don't know. It's up to you guys.
If this was out in the country.
Yeah, rural residential seems, I mean, there's a pretty
It's a huge swath. That
big
blue.
part of town.
Correct. The blue and the yellow. I mean, the blue and the white.
And I know there's 2 gravel pits that I can think of in that district.
In the blue.
Currently.
Correct.
Yeah, there's one that's just up the road here. Isn't it?
That's a rural residential?
Yeah,
So leave that as conditional?
I think so.
Okay. What about, I mean, it kind of fits in commercial, more or less fits in industrial.
Right.
Rural, thoughts?
That's a huge portion of the town to say no to, so I think
Right.
it needs to stay conditional.
Okay.
We got a gravel pit out by the ball fields
Especially when
out
it's
there.
a huge
Out by the
parcel of
ball
land
fields?
way
Yeah.
out. in the
Right.
Don't hit the ball
countryside.
too far, kids. Okay, so agriculture and forestry.
I would only suggest changing residential, but that's up to you guys if you want to allow it.
Can we make that conditional instead of allowed? So
I think that's a
kind
good
of like,
idea.
They have to apply to the board.
yeah, so it's not saying no, but it's not just allowed.
Yeah.
Right, so if they want to start a farm in the residential district, they have to come to the planning board and say, I have this 1 acre parcel and I would like to create a
Right.
farm. That would be fair. It lets them apply.
That
There are some large parcels
Yes,
in that district off of the Lower Ridge Road.
correct.
That may have suitable conditions to have a farm.
That is true.
You can also, I mean, do like an urban agriculture thing too. I don't remember how we defined agriculture. I think it all depends on that, really.
I think it allows us to look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Conditional, so I think that's a happy medium.
Yeah, I mean, agricultural could be just a garden.
Right, it could be a garden. Or
Right.
it could be a tree farm
All right.
in that district.
So everybody's good with making agriculture and forestry operations conditional in the residential district?
Yes.
All the other ones, even commercial and industrial, that seems to fit?
I think so, because it's not necessarily changing the use of the land. So if somebody started a farm in the industrial section and some industrial manufacturing facility came in, they could buy the farm and turn it into industrial.
Right.
True.
What about farm stand? Is permit by rule in every district?
I think it just should be allowed,
I do too.
and just if they need a building permit, then come get one. You know, like if
Right,
they're
because
gonna
they
build.
have to meet setbacks
Correct.
regardless.
So I think that just comes down to, if they want to have their farm stand and a table out there, they go ahead. But if they're going to leave a permanent structure, then, right, they wouldn't, I would just need to tell them what the setback is. And, right.
Yeah, that one, when I saw that, it really surprised me.
If you have a farm stand, do you have to get any permit from the state or anything? Or you just put
Depends where you
vegetables
are.
out there and nobody knows where they came from?
On 201,
I'm
you
not
can't have a farm stand
sure.
out there.
Oh, because of DOT. See, so
That-
there's other things that come
In
into
that one
play
section down over the hill, can't have anything on that.
because of the speed of the
My
truck.
kids were out there selling vegetables and the state wrote us a letter, so we couldn't do it. They put a gate up.
Oh, so there's your answer right there.
Depends on what road you're on. Right.
State trumps all.
It does.
So for the town of Fairfield, it will be allowed, though?
Correct.
Is
Yes.
that, okay. So campground, not allowed, well, so it's conditional in residential, conditional in rural residential, and,
I think in commercial and industrial, it should be conditional in both those zones, because now you have the commercial zone stretching all the way down, and that's not an updated map, but it goes all the way down 201. Somebody might want to create a campground out there, you don't know. You know, I
Have
think
a-
give them a chance to bring an application forward. That's my
Have a
suggestion.
campground along the river, so.
Maybe. Or even not along the river, just in the commercial district with a swimming pool if they want. I don't know, there's a lot of land there.
is everybody good with that?
I don't know.
Yep.
Give them a chance to apply.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt to give them a chance.
Right.
And again, it's not necessarily altering the ability for the land to become a commercial or industrial use in the future.
Correct.
Like a gravel pit, for instance, that alters the ability for that
Good.
land.
Right.
A campground, they can
Right.
pull up the electrical service and water service and
Yep.
develop the land.
Okay. So now we're on to residential uses. 1 and 2 family homes allowed in all districts except industrial, which is conditional.
I don't think it should be conditional. I think if you own an industrial parcel, you should be able to build a single-family home on it with a building permit without coming to the planning board. If they have vacant land and they want to put their home there. I don't
Yeah, if you
think-
want to live there beside one way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All more power to you.
correct, right. I don't think that they need to come to the planning board. That's just my
I
suggestion.
mean, is that gonna hurt the town tax-wise?
No.
No, taking space from a business?
No, but it might hurt a property owner if
Yeah.
they bought this piece of land and can't build a single-family structure on it.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to live on their land, even though they don't mind, they live next to
Right.
industrial properties. I think that would be
So that would be
prohibitive.
allowed.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's up to
I'm
the-
fine with that.
Yep.
Multiple dwelling units on a lot, see section 911.
So we're revising all of that, correct? 9/11? to-
Yes.
So maybe we don't need that? Or,
I would leave it.
all right.
So what this is saying is either and or conditional or subdivision.
Might be triggered.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten as far as section 9, so I'm not, this is something we probably,
We can come back to it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it yellow because we're not sure.
yeah.
So on accessory ADUs, I think that in the commercial and industrial, where we already have single-family homes in those zones,
Right, they have to be permitted.
right, they have to
Yes,
be
you're right.
allowed.
Or,
So we're not
P,
doing P,
not-
right? We're
Right.
doing just
So it'd
A.
all be
Yes,
A.
yes,
Yeah.
yep. And an accessory dwelling unit can't be put on to, say, Gregory's Disposals.
Correct, no, it has to be,
Facility.
it's accessory to a dwelling unit.
Correct.
Right,
Yep.
it's only, right, ADU has to be on a,
An existing residential parcel.
correct, on a dwelling. So under mobile homes, I think it needs to be allowed on Main Street and, oh, I see, you've got A, all right, you did.
I think you made those, I didn't change anything in here as far as like what's allowed and what's
Right.
not. I think those were your,
Can't discriminate against a mobile home if they
Right.
own a lot on Main Street or in the commercial or industrial zone.
yeah, I don't think that's even illegal.
Exactly, right, discriminate that they,
Mobile home parks are a different thing.
They
Although
are.
I don't, that's kind of weird to me that that requires a subdivision.
It does,
A lot of
because
them,
you're
you-
creating more than
You can't
three.
even have like a trailer in your backyard.
A camper, really? I don't know what their ordinance.
Waterville has that. They did one time, I don't know if they still have it now or not, but you couldn't keep a, like a
camper.
travel trailer or a
lot of
utility trailer in
communities
your
do that.
backyard.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that is a restriction in a lot of communities. You guys certainly could add that to your land use. I don't know how you regulate that, or who would patrol it, but. probably wouldn't
She's
be
like, not me.
Because everybody owns a camper.
So you are good with the mobile home parks being, did I jump ahead?
Mobile homes are A across the board then?
A across the
Yeah.
board, yeah. And then mobile home parks, I think that it should be S across the board. If somebody wants to create a subdivision, mobile home park in any district, I say let them apply. And
Right, we can
See if it
deny,
fits
we
or
can
not.
deny if they want to put it next to Village Market or something.
Right, well, and even in that case, yeah. I mean, if there's vacant land there and it fits the ordinance, we have a mobile home park across from the VFW hall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then we have one next to Purple Cow on 1 acre. So we do have some in the Main Street district already. So I don't know why it would be prohibited. We already have a couple in town,
Well, the one by Purple Cow is not Main Street, that's commercial.
commercial district. But we have one. a small
They may have
one on
been
Main Street.
grandfathered.
And in urban residential, you have one on Savage Street, and this has an X there, so you already have an existing one in urban residential.
So it should be S all the way across.
That, I'm
Yeah.
just suggesting it, since we already have some in those districts. I don't know how we could say nobody else can create one. where they can't expand what they currently have.
I don't know, I feel like the Main Street district, we should not be looking at mobile home parks on, but that's just me.
But we already have two.
Right, which we can't tell them to leave.
Well,
or
they may be
stop them.
grandfathered in, to your point.
Right, I would think like new development within the Main Street district. Is mobile home parks what we want?
Not what we want.
I would agree, it's not what the town is looking for and looking to grow.
So you
agree.
could, if you want to leave it in X, that's fine.
That would be the only one that I would
Just in the Main Street district?
fight for not having mobile home parks in.
Okay, I'll go along with that.
I can see like an existing lot, if it wants to have a mobile home park brought in, that's different to me than a mobile home park.
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of lots that are large enough to house a mobile home park
No,
anyway,
me neither.
No,
but
not a park, but certainly a single mobile home, especially if somebody loses a home
right.
and they choose to.
You don't have a problem with one.
No, I'm thinking mobile home
Multiple.
parks where there's
Like what we
7 or
currently
8.
have.
Yeah,
You're talking about specifically in the Main Street district?
correct.
Okay.
Correct, just that one. Stays an X and the rest are all an S.
Yep.
Okay. Home occupations, permit by rule?
I think it
Across
should be across the board.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
So we have at the very top of this, 1 and 2 family homes. So I put in multifamily homes, 3+ units at the bottom. I didn't even begin to try to guess how you guys would want to do that. I'm assuming, actually, I don't know.
How are the, like, multiple dwelling units on a lot, how is that different than 1 and 2 family and multifamily?
Well, in the building codes, the IRC covers 1 and 2 family.
Okay.
The International Commercial Code covers, once you hit the 3rd family in one building, that is, now you're in the commercial code. You're out of the
Right.
1 and 2
I thought it was
family.
4.
No,
No, it's 3.
3rd.
And I'm totally okay with separating them, I just think the multiple dwelling units, what's the difference there? Is that could be like multiple
it's-
houses as
yeah.
opposed to like 1 3-unit apartment building?
Right,
It's multiple houses,
on one parcel of land.
yeah.
So should we
that
say,
multiple housing?
well, I'm
Two-
thinking the 1 and 2 family, or like the multifamily housing, should that be multifamily housing structure? So it's singular? Just, they all kind of seem alike to me.
They are, maybe we need to just look at it individually and then come back with some
I
suggestions.
think one of the biggest things is the parking of cars. And
Which
if you
is
got 3
all reviewed
families and
under
you all have a car,
subdivision.
there's
Right, so,
3 or 4 cars. in
I
the
would
yard.
think we completely get rid of multiple dwelling units on a lot, and then we have the 1 and 2 family homes and the multifamily housing, which could include 3 tiny homes that would come back as a subdivision, because isn't anything 3 or more a subdivision?
correct.
So if we strike the one that's highlighted and put C-S for multifamily housing 3+ units,
That should cover it.
I think that covers
Make them all
us.
black and white.
Yeah,
So I like your idea before of multifamily housing structure. Is that,
well, if we're getting rid of the top one, because if somebody wants to build a 3-unit apartment building, that's subdivision, it requires subdivision approval.
Correct.
If somebody builds 3, a family has 2 children, they build them 2 houses on a lot,
Still a subdivision,
still a subdivision, would fit under the 3+
plus units.
I got you.
units.
Okay.
So I think put back what you just deleted, Jessica.
oh,
The multifamily housing, 3+ units, and then you could put C section 9.11, and
Right.
then that'll give all the details.
And get rid of the line 2 that says multiple dwelling units on a lot.
so I was just moving that up.
Oh, you were just pulling.
Oh, okay, rewording multiple dwelling units.
Yeah, I was gonna get rid
That's fine.
of multiple dwelling units.
And put multifamily housing right below.
Yeah, multifamily housing.
Perfect.
Should I still leave the C section 9?
Yeah,
I think so, until we determine what's in that section and how it applies.
Damn, it's not accepting it. Okay. So commercial uses are next.
So this is where, you know, the size of the building, I was saying in the chart of land uses, like if it's, we were talking small, medium, or large, you know, the building size kind of helps determine that too.
Okay. So under commercial uses, general entertainment, retail, and wholesale by size unless otherwise listed. So under 10,000 square feet building area, it would be for the Main Street Village, rural residential, commercial, industrial, and rural, yes, would be conditional. It would not be allowed in the
Urban.
urban residential or residential. Is everybody good with that?
What size is like villages, a big grocery store? If they want to start one on Main Street. that
Well, it would be allowed on Main Street.
Wouldn't be
Main Street is
allowed.
allowed.
Yeah,
But
it's
like-
the
yeah.
urban residential, so like High Street, and then residential area like
Okay.
Lower Ridge Road.
Ridge Road, or even the outer Western Avenue where it turns into Center Road. You know, that's all residential.
Okay.
If you want to throw a grocery store on that stretch of road. I mean, there's one house after another. They're little 1-acre lots. That would be a huge building to be adjacent to those smaller lots.
I think that as written is okay.
Say back in the 50s, there was a store on about every street.
Yep, they have a lot of retail in
That-
the urban residential.
And then I like for the 10 to 20,000 square foot, it's then knocking out rural residential, because again, you're looking at, even though the lots are a little bigger, still having such a large scale operation next to them could be a challenge.
Right. Because they're still somewhat compact residential. And then your largest buildings, commercial, industrial, and rural, and Main Street. Not that there's a lot of vacant land on Main Street, but if someone wanted to buy up some buildings and redevelop.
And by not allowing it in the village district, that kind of fits the description that we were going for with the village district, that we're looking for more local oriented stores and establishments to be in the village districts.
That makes sense, if everybody's good with that.
Then manufacturing would be more on the industrial side.
And again, it's split by building size, so under 25,000 square feet, it is not allowed in the urban residential, and rural residential. But everywhere else, it's allowed. I don't know, if everybody's good with that.
Yeah.
So for 25,000 square feet and larger,
Definitely concentrated in commercial and industrial. I
Yeah.
think that makes the most sense.
I do too.
Yep, I like that it's excluding the Main Street area and the village area.
Gasoline and fueling stations, not allowed What's that? Am I going too fast?
No, it's just looking at the chart.
I'm just double checking what I'm looking at is concurrent with what she has.
So gasoline and fueling stations not allowed in the urban residential, rural residential, or what is RU? I keep,
Rural.
rural. Everywhere else is conditional permit, yep.
What about the rural residential on that one? Because like the Big Apple would be considered in the rural residential.
Correct, it would be.
And I think that that's a very appropriate place to have a gas station.
Right, because you don't have one in it. So, right, if,
So I would look at
Turn that
making
to C.
rural residential a C. And then
Yeah, 'cause that's very convenient out there.
possibly even the rural district, how that's X'd out. I mean, realistically, a gas station that's put out by Koval Road might be a good location.
true. All right, so change that to a C.
Well, is that where the Big Apple is?
Is that,
No,
that's in rural?
Big Apple would be
in the blue.
kind of
Oh, in the blue,
here.
okay.
But why wouldn't a gas station be accepted out here, kind of halfway between the Big Apple and Norwich Walk
Right.
stations?
On either side of the road.
That's in the rural district.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there gas stations out that way? There has
There's
to be.
one Big Apple. There's Irving before you even,
Correct. That one would be in the village.
near the
district.
village.
There's one in Fairfield Center.
Yeah.
Which those are all not at risk of being taken away.
Right.
With any of
No.
these changes.
I was
but-
just
But if
curious.
somebody wants to add another one further out.
Right.
Near the Norwich Walk town line, why would we prohibit that?
Right,
Wouldn't make any sense.
right, I agree.
Is everybody good with those two changes? Okay. Next would be farm stand. I took that out of there and I stuck it up at the top. We already reviewed that. Then there's bank, not allowed in, my table's too big here.
Urban,
Residential.
residential, rural residential, and rural.
Yes.
Why do we need that to be conditional for Main Street? Should that just be allowed?
No, they need to come to the planning board and ask to develop it. You need that development permit in front of you. So
Okay.
allowed means planning board is just allowing it, don't bother applying to us. So having a C there says you need to complete, like a site plan, a conditional use permit. That's your
Okay,
site plan
okay.
review.
Yep,
So, right. That's what pulls them to get reviewed in front of you.
okay. Right, otherwise they'd just be getting a building permit.
Correct. And I would, right. So if they already have one and they're taking their bank down or their store down and they're not expanding more than 50% of what they already had, then there is no review. We
Mhm.
just say, here's your building permit. Go ahead. You're already here. You already have your driveway entrances. We're already allowing it.
Okay.
So no changes to bank
Right.
locations? Professional offices, see section 9.13, and that's conditional in every district, across the board.
How do we feel about the village district and professional offices? Do we think that a professional office going into the village district would change the characteristics of those village areas?
What are you defining as a professional office?
Right, I don't know. I don't think it's-
Accountant?
Accounting is,
Right, that isn't clear. I'm thinking more large.
Well, I feel the same way about the next one, general offices and services.
Yeah.
What is
General
that,
service.
what is that defined as?
Hairdresser, she provides a service. A
Barber shop.
barber shop.
But the office is part of that. I see what they're saying, I'm not sure. How is general offices different
Different
than
than professional offices.
Yeah.
How are we judging
Well-
somebody versus professional versus general?
That'd be like a doctor or dentist.
Or CPA or
Massage therapy, I don't know.
Like, what if somebody wants to do a 100-person office building
How big would that be?
Professional office.
in the village district?
Right.
And then they're bringing all of that traffic into Shawmut to fill out 100 offices.
That'd be good for Charlotte.
Well.
It's a lot of jobs for Fairfield.
Yeah, agreed. It would be great for Fairfield, but would the residential and village kind of nature of Shawmut be negatively impacted by having 100 employees coming into that area
I think that's
every day to an office?
how the conditional use permit would work.
True.
Right, they're gonna
Allow us
present
that
it to you.
Right, it allows
And-
us to,
If you review section 7 and 8, it goes way, way in depth with like driveways and traffic.
Buffering. and-
Oh my God, I don't know what the heck half of that's even talking about. We need to talk about that one.
Yeah, it is, it's very, right, yes.
So I think that will be covered, the extra traffic generated will be covered under that section. And when you guys do what is essentially a site plan review.
Is there any way we could combine those three, professional office, general office, and call center into one category?
I think we should delete the,
Seems like it's
General?
almost duplicating itself.
well, I think it could be general services
Yes.
instead of,
Professional offices and general services, or just?
I
I don't know that it well, yeah, I guess
General
we,
services?
yeah, I think it can remain its own line. Professional offices, see section 9.13, and then under it still keep it general services.
So if they provide a service,
Right.
I mean, if they're a boiler cleaner and they want a storefront that, you know, I'm a heating technician and here's my
And
office.
subsequently, there's an office usually attached to something
Is
like
there
that.
a good reason why it's not allowed general services in the urban residential?
Yes, because it's so compact and such a residential district.
The urban residential?
Urban residential, the brown, that's where all your apartments are and all your single-family dwellings are on tiny, tiny lots. To bring in that kind of traffic, if you created a professional office, like an accounting firm that had maybe 20 accountants seeing clients all day, 1 an hour, that would be a huge impact for that residential neighborhood. So I'm guessing that's why, I mean, I wasn't here when this was created, but I'm guessing that's why it's excluded from that district, that one district.
I would be okay with making it conditional.
Well, I look at that map, the brown, and I think that we have a lot of things that would fall under general services already currently in that area.
Like, I could see somebody
Do we
wanting
not?
a
We
business on
don't,
Western
because Main
Avenue.
Street, what you're not seeing is Main Street. This is the beach.
So is this from High Street up?
Yes, this is behind all the commercial and all along the commercial Main Street corridor. So you're looking, the brown, the urban residential is your concentration of residential dwellings.
I see.
So, sure, you could take a tiny house lot and,
Because Western Avenue, where like Hillman's is, would be in the urban residential area.
right, I don't know how that became a retail store, I have no idea.
What is it?
Before the ordinance.
Hillman's is in the urban residential district.
Yeah, it's been there going a while.
Isn't there some therapy lady just right up the street from Hillman's?
And perhaps that's why, when this was originally designated, maybe in those those areas, those circumstances are what drove the ordinance to be the way it is. I don't know, I wasn't here. So I don't know. I'm guessing that maybe there were complaints, and the forefathers said, well, in this district, let's not allow this. But if you guys want to change it and allow them to come with a permit, that's,
I could just see somebody maybe wanting to be on Western Avenue near Hillman's and having a boiler cleaning storefront or something.
sure. But how about on, like, Connor Avenue, like a tiny little side street? And-
Well, that's where it'd be conditional, and we could, as a board, say this isn't meeting the surrounding neighborhood characteristics.
But if it's allowed with a permit, and you set the criterias or your ordinance, and they meet everything, that they can get the buffering, they can get the screening, the
Yeah, I think
lighting.
Nicole's right on that.
When you open it up, you can't say no. If they meet everything, And people don't like that traffic coming in next door to their house when they're trying to have a barbecue. Because those house lots are so tiny. Then you cannot refuse to say yes once you say it's allowed with a permit if you meet that criteria.
I see, I agree.
Yeah, it's like on Main Street, they used to have a bank. Well, you come down, there's 2 lanes of traffic, and you're on the right-hand side, and you're in the line for people waiting to go into the bank.
So traffic was stacking up there.
Right.
And that could happen on a side street, on a tiny side street, sure. Depend if they wanted to.
And this is for general services.
But I can have a professional office
Right.
in that same area.
Sure, a hairdresser could open up, she could have her pedicures on the first floor, she could have a second floor that, you know, they do hair cutting, and then they do, you know, they could have a whole spa right next door to residential homes, all crowded in a tiny residential neighborhood. You could be, so then she could have 20 employees and 20 clients every 2 hours coming in and out.
Is that a professional office?
That would be a general service.
Which wouldn't be allowed,
So you're saying.
Which isn't allowed.
but a professional
I'm just trying to
office.
designate mentally,
Yeah.
in between a professional office that's allowed in that area and a general service that
I don't think
is
they do.
not. Huh?
I don't think they do.
I would,
Well, if there is one, just enlighten me, just enlighten me.
and I'm okay with saying no to professional offices because we want that area to be residential.
Does that mean I can't have an office in my house?
No.
Will that be a
That
home
falls under
occupation?
home occupation. So
Okay.
you can have your home office.
If
To
I-
me, professional offices is more like a dentist or
A lot of
eye
traffic,
doctor,
a lot of people
yeah.
coming in and out.
You can't
Attorney's
call it a home.
office, they get 4 or 5
Attorneys.
attorneys,
Profession,
there's
right?
people coming in
Yeah.
and out.
So I would
Working out of
say,
my house.
if we feel that general services is too businessy for the urban residential district, professional offices should follow that same suit.
Yeah, they should be the same.
Right.
if it's that tightly compact, then
It is compatible.
And somebody could always come and seek a
a
variance to
variance.
this. If they,
I agree, I just was struggling to understand
I don't see
how
a big
how they
difference
were
between
different.
the two.
Yeah.
I think they should be all the same one.
Just one line.
I think.
Professional offices and general services, all just
All
spelled
one.
out all
I mean, you
together.
could.
Yeah.
Why not?
Should I get rid of C section 9.13? Because
I think so.
Yeah. And then just keep it all combined. Whether they have a professional license to do their, well, they all have professional licenses.
okay, good recommendation. So we're good with that. I combined professional offices and general services, deleted C section 9.13, and removed the conditional part for the urban residential. So now we're on to call center.
I feel that we should really be pushing call centers to the commercial and industrial areas
I agree.
and not Main Street in the Village District because that's just creating so much traffic in the Village District of people who likely aren't going to be living in the Village District.
Didn't we have a call center?
We did.
In the
It
village?
was no, it was on the main street.
Oh, Main Street.
Yeah, it was right next to town hall.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there is a lot of traffic with that because they have a lot of people in and out of there all day long. They work different shifts.
I think even Main Street, we should consider not having call centers because is that the business that we are looking to attract to Main Street? I mean, obviously we want any
Probably a lot of
business.
the businesses will disagree because I'm sure the restaurants make out like a bandit.
Yeah, and the stores, the
The
retail
stores.
stores, the foot traffic and the driving traffic was very heavy when they were operating. There was a lot of,
Kind of Cumberland Farms made it, that was a lot of business for them.
it was. Every time I went in there was at least a couple employees from the call center grabbing a coffee and grabbing snacks and filling up their car.
So the Main Street district goes all the way up to,
You know, Waterville Town Line all the way up to like,
95,
yep,
where,
the ramp,
No, it only goes to about,
where the concrete,
the purple
about
cow.
Western Avenue. Is
Oh, does it?
considered Main Street District. Purple Cow will be in commercial.
Commercial.
Oh,
I just think, like-
in commercial?
Purple Cow is in commercial.
It changes.
I was thinking of that large building just up from Purple Cow, if somebody wanted to turn that into a,
That's gonna be a tractor, a tractor.
I just, Main Street, I don't know. I have a hard time thinking a call center going in on Main Street and taking away from.
Because it didn't work with that one.
It's not like a service oriented for the community to go to eat, go to get a haircut, go to get groceries. It's just a building for calling. There's no real public engagement in that type of business. Which is where I would have a hard time on Main Street.
I agree. I mean, I think that you have enough commercial and industrial land. It really is a commercial
Right.
building, commercial, right, where you're
It's not a Main Street style business. in my
Doesn't
opinion.
fit the character.
well,
You mentioned the village too, would it,
how much traffic does a bank generate? That's allowed on Main Street.
But that's more of like a service. Like if I lived on Main Street, I would go to Skowhegan Savings Bank to do my banking. It's sort of like a public involvement business, which is what I see as Main Street style businesses more so than a call center, which is great to bring people to Main Street, but isn't going to interact with the residents of Main Street. They're not, or the surrounding area.
And when a call center they're working and everything, those cars aren't moving.
Parking would be an issue on Main
Parking is a
Street,
big issue.
which
Yeah, because they had a parking issue up here.
They
which
did.
their development would have to prove to us that they can handle the parking volume of
Right.
their employees. But still, who knows if their employees are gonna say, well, parking on Main Street's more convenient than parking in the parking lot.
And that happens in Fairfield at the restaurant down by Sonny's. I mean, every night, every parking spot is full.
Which is a good problem to have.
Right, agreed.
It's a good problem to have, but, you know, it could happen with another business. It's like the next one.
So I would propose we X call centers on Main Street and the villages, push them to commercial and industrial, but have they have the opportunity to come to us and look for a variance to be in a not allowed district if they found a building that was
Was suitable.
inviting for them to go to.
Could always,
None of this is set in stone.
right.
so that would mean that they are only allowed through conditional permit in the commercial and industrial?
Correct.
Okay.
Unless you want to open rural, because that would not hinder anybody in rural.
Agreed.
Is there enough infrastructure for that?
A call center wouldn't, I mean,
I know it wouldn't require like a lot of, I mean, I'm thinking about like,
you got a well and a septic, and, you know, you got a couple hand washing and toilet flushing, so a very small septic system, even if you had a huge call center.
Yeah.
They would not really need a lot of infrastructure.
And the availability of infrastructure, public infrastructure in place would probably drive them not to
Correct.
go to those
that's true.
locations.
So,
And, yeah,
So you want to open up rural with a permit, or no?
I think no, I still think we want to push them to our commercial and industrial areas. We don't have a lot of available structures out in the rural parts of the community that would be begging for a call center to go into them.
Right.
So if they're going to be building from scratch, I think we should be pushing them to our commercial and industrial areas of town. Because that, if they started building call centers in the rural parts of the community, that would really start to alter the characteristics of that area.
that makes sense. Everybody's good with that?
Yep.
Adult business. The only place it's allowed is the commercial districts. Oh, yes.
Not fair. Have to,
That's good.
Everybody
Yeah.
good with that?
Yep.
Kennels, animal boarding. I think you suggested the change from the residential, Nicole,
Right, that's
to,
just too compact to have dogs barking that close, because the residential district, the houses are close.
Mhm.
And I just don't think it would be fair.
so it would be allowed in the rural, residential, commercial, industrial, and rural.
Those houses are spread further apart, so should be less of an impact. Unless there's another zone you guys don't want them in.
No. I think that's good.
Groundwater extraction, commercial, industrial, and rural, allowed by conditional use permit or conditional permit.
Yep, it's good.
Same thing with waste/scrap storage / processing facility, commercial, industrial, and rural. Motor vehicle sales and service, not allowed in the urban residential and rural residential, everywhere else by conditional permit.
I would think possibly rural residential. We want to look at opening up to be conditional. Because there's a lot of
There's a few
road
existing.
frontage and there are existing car dealerships in those areas.
There are, and I don't know.
But you could make the argument that they don't fit the characteristic of those.
Right. So you
Areas.
see agriculture and little farmhouses, and all of a sudden you see car sales and service or a service garage, you know, with 20 cars right next to another residential home. I don't know. For some reason, it got classified as not in rural residential. That was before I was employed here, so I don't know if there were so many complaints about the existing ones that are there, that it was an impact on the neighbors, that they decided to prohibit it. I don't know how it became the way it is, but it seems to be working. I don't get many requests for people wanting to locate car repair shops in that residential district and the rural residential. That's up to you guys if you want to open it
Yeah,
up.
that would be the only one that I could see changing.
And that would change.
And I don't
most
feel
of Martin
super
Street
strong.
Road.
Yeah, I don't feel super strongly one way or the other.
I would leave it,
Leave it alone.
yeah. Like you said, they can come.
Right, they can always
Ask.
seek a
Yeah.
variance.
Right.
Junkyard, auto graveyard, allowed in commercial and industrial, and rural, through conditional permit.
Yep,
Good?
looks good to me.
Warehousing, the same thing, conditional, commercial, industrial, and rural, sorry.
I think that's good.
Sit-down restaurant, not allowed in the urban residential or rural residential or rural.
I would also add residential to that. I don't think you'd want a sit-down restaurant on Ridge Road or in the residential district along Center Road. I mean, the houses are so compact up there, unless you guys think that with a permit, you could see a restaurant located there.
Oh, why somebody'd want one out there?
Yeah.
Right, there's
it seems
no public sewer.
unlikely to be developed out there.
There's no public sewer system, and for a
Right.
restaurant, you definitely need a large septic system.
Yeah.
It is allowed in the village district?
It is.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Yes,
Yes.
with a permit.
It is, okay, good.
So leave residential or remove residential?
No. Not allowed, right?
Right now you have a C, so you.
And correct me, Nicole, if I'm wrong here, but 201, now all the
Is
way.
commercial.
Is commercial, the whole way?
Correct.
Okay. Because I would want that to be available.
Oh, yeah.
So we're taking it away from residential.
Yeah, it
But
doesn't make any sense. Do you want to leave it?
No, I was thinking industrial.
No, I agree, now that I can see the map and kind of get the mental lay of the land out through there,
It's all residential homes.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Just slap a commercial business like that right in the middle of those homes.
What is the land right next to that interstate?
In commercial and industrial, it's the pink is industrial and the peach is commercial.
They used to have a restaurant up there by the
Yeah,
gas
that's all,
station.
and that is all allowed in that area. That's all commercial. I think the Irving, you mean, right, the gas station? Yeah.
Okay, so snack bar slash food truck. So it's permit by rule in the Main Street and Village districts, not allowed in urban residential. Nicole, you suggested in residential and rural residential, instead of conditional permit, it'd be permit by rule.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants to put one out there on Center Road, a little lunch wagon, or on Western Avenue, would be Center Road, or on Ridge Road, on the corner of Ridge Road and Center Road, there's a parking lot there. I just don't see where a food truck would, what would that harm?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, they
typically
used to-
just seasonal.
They used to go through town all the time, and you got a bread and milk, and put your little card in the window, and they'd stop, and
Bring it
what do
to-
you need? And
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, if somebody wants to lease them some land, to put their little food truck for the season, those.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate, having it permit
We
by
don't
rule
have the ice
everywhere.
cream truck
Yeah.
anymore.
Except urban residential where it's just too compact of
Too
residential.
compact, the
Kids come
parking would
running
be a
in the house, the
nightmare.
ice cream truck's coming.
Yeah,
And industrial, I mean, who knows? There could be an industrial manufacturer that comes in that has 1,000 employees and a food truck would do great next door to it.
right.
Correct.
I'd like to do that.
I know.
Bed and breakfast, conditional permit everywhere.
Why not?
Yep, I agree.
Hotel motel, not allowed in urban residential, rural residential, residential and rural. Everywhere else it's a conditional permit.
Because they would need public water
Yeah.
and sewer, so you got to keep them in the districts that have that infrastructure to handle it.
What's the difference between lodging house and bed and breakfast?
Bed and breakfast, it's like they actually serve you the breakfast. It's like a little hotel almost, but in a home. Lodging house, there's a central kitchen and living room, and everybody just rents a room. But they prepare their own meals in that
Yeah, I'm thinking like a boarding house of
boarding house, right?
kids and,
Correct. People prepare their own food, they're not being served a breakfast. They just share the living room and kitchen.
So then we're on to we already did the lodging house. Everybody's good that that's conditional in all districts, the lodging house, boarding house. College residence hall.
It's allowed in the village?
It appears to be.
Guess so. I'd say open it up for conditional use in all districts. I mean, a college residence hall. It's
right, we
residential.
might
True.
want something like that close to Main Street.
We might want one on High Street. I mean, if a couple of big homes are sold and they create a 2-story residence hall for one of the schools, right downtown, like walkable to everything, I mean, you never know. It's up to you guys, but.
Could be a good frat house or something.
No, it would be
Frat
a
house.
college residence hall. It would have to be a legitimate, let them apply, like,
Oh,
if they have plenty of land on their own campuses that I'm thinking if they ever create their own residence hall, they probably would go there. But if another college in another town wants to create a residence hall here,
Do you think that should be seen across the board?
it's up to you guys. I'm just preventing them from applying if they want to.
They can always go to Hinkler, they got
Yeah, they have a huge campus.
quite a few buildings up there.
I agree. I mean, yeah,
The only one that I would consider would be Village, not allowing it.
Not allowing village. And how
Because-
about urban residential?
And I
too?
granted,
Okay.
I don't live in a village district, so I don't have a good sense of how tight knit people want the village districts to be maintained, but I think having a college residence hall in a village district would change the characteristics of the village district. But
Yeah.
that's the only one that I could see saying,
What about the Main Street district?
realistically, a college residence hall near Main Street would bring a lot of students to Main Street, which could be really good for the town.
So I live near Farmington, and it's, when college is in session, the town is different, and it's really good for the town.
I mean, look at the new Colby dorms on Main Street in Waterville.
Right.
I mean, those businesses
Right,
are loving having those students that close.
sure. Why not?
So the Main Street, we'll change it to conditional, village is not allowed,
That would be the only one that I could see not allowing it in.
and allow it in the other ones?
In all other districts? Why not?
And I think they would kind of work themselves out, they wouldn't put it in our industrial district because that's just not a place students would want to be, and colleges are kind of keeping that in mind, I think, when they're looking at
They don't
placing
even want to be on the
residence
remote campus out in Hinkley.
Right.
You know? They'd much rather be at the one near
Yep.
the highway exit.
Yeah. Controlled substance facilities, only allowed in commercial and industrial.
Yep, I would agree with that.
Communication towers,
I think they should be allowed in the downtown district here. Well, they are on Main Street. Urban
I-
residential and residential, what do you guys think?
And they're a pretty quiet neighbor.
Correct. And I mean, why are we prohibiting property owners from negotiating a tower if their land has the elevation? And I mean, I say let them apply and then see if they meet the
Yeah.
criteria.
The only
Is that
concern
the-
that I would have would be like aesthetics of being on Main Street, but if this isn't necessarily saying it's going to be a tower, a communications tower, could be in the steeple of a church, it
Right.
could be,
Right.
so I think I put those question marks there based on something that you suggested, Nicole. So you're thinking that those should be,
Urban residential and residential?
yeah,
I don't know. It's up to you guys. Do you want to deny them? Keep with
No.
the X's in those
I don't think
districts?
we should.
You think don't allow them?
I think we should allow, conditional.
Let them apply?
Yeah.
Okay, I feel that strongly that they should be able to apply.
But then you can't deny.
Yeah, you
Correct,
can-
if they meet the criteria.
Well, yeah,
So
but if they have enough neighboring
right, if we,
people that come in
Yeah.
and fight it,
If you approve them, you can get in trouble.
it may not.
Well, they can come fight it, but if they meet all the guidelines,
Yeah.
they don't really have an opinion, right?
But it might make them guilty, feel guilty, you know.
Oh, you're gonna guilt me out of it, putting a cell phone tower in my backyard?
I think we always
Residuals.
can, we can always look back and say like it doesn't meet the characteristics of that area.
I mean, they could
too.
put one on top of the buildings out here.
I could get
Slippery
behind
slope.
not putting them in the urban resident, or the urban
Urban.
residential district, just
Yeah.
because it is so densely clustered.
It really is.
I think I would keep it because you open the door in those two areas,
It's
a fairly-
residential.
Keep
yeah.
it-
fairly slippery slope.
Right.
keep it as not allowed.
They can always come and ask for variance, right? Like
Yeah.
we've said on other items.
Yeah,
but
you're right, that's been your
we
approach.
wouldn't- I don't know, is it something I would open the door to?
That's fine with me.
The residential district, I would say we should allow it or make it conditional, because that includes the Howe Road,
Yeah, and
which
the high
is the
spots.
highest elevation in the
And there is a
town.
tower up there right now, so, yes,
Yeah,
I
we get in
see.
trouble for that one.
Yeah.
I can
Oh, you
get,
got in trouble for that?
Yeah, they sent us all a picture of our house with a towel behind it.
They thought it was yours?
Yeah,
Yeah?
they said, "Ah, how do you like your house with it?" I said, "My house, you can't see it."
I can't see it from my house.
so,
Well,
I
I
would-
mean, I got trees in the backyard, and
Right.
you can't. If they put one in the next lot, I probably couldn't see it.
I like how you have it right now, just go with,
Okay.
just not allowed in the urban residential.
Okay. Solar energy systems.
What do we do about the police department or the fire department?
That's on Main Street, so.
Like
they're
Waterville
allowed.
has a tower.
Yep, they're allowed on Main Street. Solar energy, I like the way it is right now. It hasn't been a problem.
Would there be, I mean, should we classify this as like community solar energy?
Could I ask a question on the last one? What about ham radio operated towers?
Those are exempt, ham radio, because that's
So
personal.
exam, so you're strictly talking cell
Commercial
phone tower,
towers.
commercial towers?
Correct.
Okay.
Ham radio is.
Nobody wants to see
personal
it,
use.
but they want to have it to so
Right.
get the communication.
Because I know there's some things even with commercial towers, like cell phone towers,
Right.
at certain heights and things like that. Does that
Correct.
come under a different thing
No, that
for
would
you
be.
folks?
Right.
Okay. I just know that sometimes, I just wanted to bring that up real quick, because I
Sure.
didn't hear anything about ham radio towers. I know there's ham radio operators in town. that
There are.
Never even
have
saw
cell
it.
Those
towers
are
set up
allowed
and
because
things.
those are a hobbyist and personal use. Yeah.
Cool.
Good question, though.
It is, I like it.
I like that he's paying attention to all that, too. It's pretty cool.
You say
So, with solar-
hobbyists can have those? So if you want to build a cell tower, you say, that's my hobby, right? I'm just putting up cell
No, ham
towers.
radio is what he said. He didn't say communication tower.
That's my hobby.
What were we on?
So,
Oh, okay. Is everybody good with that?
Well, solar, this is not home solar systems.
correct, this is commercial.
You're right.
That they're
Okay.
applying for.
Well, it's under yeah. It's under
Everything that they
commercial
need,
uses.
this land use ordinance is, right, not your single-family
Okay.
home that wants their own PV system.
Okay. So this excludes them from the Main Street, the village, residential, and urban residential. Seems reasonable. Do we want to look at industrial or commercial? Sorry, commercial. Do we want to divert solar arrays from being along our commercial corridors and taking up space for potential development?
Well,
We have a lot of them within the commercial corridors.
we do, and I just don't think we should prohibit a property owner if they want to hold on to their land, and that's how they're going to pay their taxes, and they don't want it developed, because, typically these are 25-year leases,
Right,
and
and
then they
these
go
are,
away.
this isn't a campground that it can be torn out the next,
Right, they're
year.
decommissioned, and they can do something else with their commercial land later on. But yeah, there's typically a 25-year commitment, and then they have a chance to re-up or not re-up. And then at that point, right, they decommission the solar system and could resell it and redevelop it into something else. So it's typically not 100% permanent.
I think we have to be careful not to restrict landowners of
Some opportunities, yeah.
making money off their land.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Right, because not everybody wants to sell their land. Some people would rather just go into a land lease with a solar energy company for 25 years and then think about it later on.
Makes
Of
good,
course,
it
you're
makes a good
retiring.
neighbor.
It's a
you
good
know?
retirement plan.
Correct, it is a retirement income and it pays the taxes. And yeah, so this is, if they want to retain their land, it's a good option for them.
So no changes to solar, right? Okay. What about the wind energy system? Wind energy generation?
I haven't had one, but I don't know,
right, and this isn't,
wind area.
Right, that's not probably gonna happen here.
And this excludes individual homeowner windmills,
Right,
so I think it's unlikely that we see this development.
Right.
right.
I doubt it very much.
So for the adult use marijuana facility, if I'm remembering correctly, marijuana has all been changed to cannabis, right?
Correct, so we can change that to cannabis. adult use cannabis and medical
Medical
cannabis
cannabis.
dispensary. I would recommend no changes there. It's been working for the town the way
Okay.
you guys originally laid it out, so. Unless somebody feels differently.
So everybody's good?
And do we want to discuss Main Street? Do we want cannabis retailers on Main Street?
I was just thinking that we allow it in the villages.
I mean, my mind, I have conflicting opinions on this. I personally wouldn't like to see a marijuana business on Main Street. However,
Business.
it's a business, and it's a public serving business that fits with the idea of Main Street businesses being there to bring people in and out, and it's sort of like a shopping type business.
But it does, if you start allowing them, how many do you want?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
you can't regulate that. So
Yeah.
I think that was the discussion when law, it first became law, is like, they just didn't, look, we're not gonna say that you can't do it in Fairfield, we just don't wanna see it in our traditional Main Street district.
Now look at
That was-
Waterville. Look at Waterville, they're on every corner.
Agreed. But some of them in Waterville look really nice and could enhance our downtown image. Not all.
If there was a way to limit the number of them, I think that would be, I would agree with you.
She said on
Do you want
seven or
Main
eight.
Street, Fairfield,
No.
cannabis?
Absolutely not.
Cannabis. Because one's not gonna come to town, Main Street, and call it good.
That would be
Somebody's
terrible.
gonna have to move in to compete.
Totally agree.
I think
don't
we
wanna be
have
limited.
cannabis, what's the word I'm looking for?
We have access to it with plenty.
Well, I mean, we already have cannabis business in Fairfield.
Right,
If
choice.
we opened up Main Street, they're gonna wanna come.
I don't disagree with that at all.
I don't like it on Main Street, personally.
Me neither.
Yeah, I think I would keep it away.
That's just,
So no changes.
that's personal.
It is business, but I think
So
it's,
no changes to
Cannabis.
either the facility or the dispensary?
I think it's good the way it is. It's been working for you guys.
Yeah.
What about, when we say medical cannabis dispensary,
Right.
does that mean medical cannabis grow house? Medical cannabis
No, I think that's a
processing?
different,
A dispensary, correct, envelops everything. That license that they get from the state, they define what they want. Like, when they get a dispensary license, they identify to the state of Maine what it is they intend to do. They could cultivate, they could sell retail, they can process, they can extract, but they
Okay,
have
so-
to spell it out.
So, if somebody wanted to make a medical cannabis cultivation business on Main Street,
Dispensary.
cultivation, and maybe I am misunderstanding. Dispensary to me is public store. People come in and buy stuff.
That's not all that it is. So
Okay.
state law says if you're a medical cannabis dispensary, you can do everything as long as you identify what it is you're going to do. You could be a cultivator,
And you're still a dispensary if
you're a
just
dispensary, you're licensed as a dispensary, and you're just a
Okay.
cultivator. You could be licensed as a dispensary, and all you do is extract for people.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends. You have to spell out.
Right, I want to make sure that we're not saying retail can't come to Main Street, but processing can, like,
Right. So
That-
nothing can come to Main Street.
Okay.
There's nothing on Main Street.
okay,
Any type of it.
okay.
Period. And that way, there's no gray area.
Yep.
Just not allowed.
That's the best thing we've done.
I feel strongly that that's a good statement. Yeah.
It's just when we say adult use cannabis facility and medical cannabis dispensary should, facility and dispensary, that's where I'm coming up with.
That's how it's defined.
Yeah, they have like very specific definitions, and then there's tiers. It's super complicated.
And they keep changing it. each-
And they keep changing
And it's
it.
going to change again, so hold on, it's coming again.
Okay.
All right, so then we have institutional uses. I think the only suggestion I had from Nicole was public and private schools. Instead of not allowed in rural, I think you changed it to a conditional, you suggested conditional use.
Right. I think we should allow it because, I mean, somebody might
Yeah.
have a parcel of land that they want to open their own school, private school.
Yep, I don't disagree.
Child daycare centers, I moved that from a different area and stuck it down here. Is it good as a separate, is it good in this area?
Either that, or you could even add it to public and private schools and child daycare centers, so you can make it all one line. I mean,
Yep.
all one thing.
like
It doesn't
that.
need its own blocking, because they're considered a private school.
Yeah, pretty much.
I like
And
that
home
suggestion.
daycares fall under home occupation, so that's completely separate.
Right.
And that's 13 children or less, so.
What about adult daycare centers? Do we want to strike child and just say daycare centers? Is there enough distinction between the two?
Or child/adult daycare.
Yeah, I was thinking
center.
the slash.
Yeah, why not? And then it applies to either one. They can
Right.
just apply.
Places of public assembly allowed through conditional use in all districts.
I think you have to, because you've had historically churches in
Right.
the Main Street Village, yeah, I think.
Governmental facilities. I think you suggested in Main Street and Village, it should be conditional instead of permit by rule, Nicole?
Right, if you're going to do a conditional use and all other, right, if it's a government facility, I say bring them all under the same permitting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And you suggested instead of urban residential and residential, it not being allowed a conditional use?
right, because, I mean, that would not be a good place to stick a government facility.
Yeah, not
Post
likely to.
office on High Street, right next to some houses, it would be a little weird.
Oh, wait,
So you are suggesting we restrict that to be not allowed?
yes,
Yeah, I
think it was initially allowed,
Oh, was it allowed?
and I thought,
I said, why are we allowed in government facilities?
yeah, it
suppose
was,
maybe.
it was
Open it
initially
up.
not allowed,
Okay.
and maybe I misunderstood. I can make it not allowed, I mean,
I'm okay with making it not allowed. I mean, realistically,
It's not allowed online.
Right, no. Right.
Government facilities
We should
aren't.
just leave that alone. Not
Okay.
allowed.
okay.
And then residential,
Okay.
Before, right? That's what I'm
Leave it
looking at.
alone.
Worry about it when they show up.
All right, so now we're on to public utility structures, conditional use throughout, along with essential facilities,
I
conditional
think that
use.
needs to be conditional because we never know where a public utility structure will be necessary.
Yeah.
Correct, right, so leave it wide open.
Right, a
Let them
sewer pump
apply.
station with development, I mean, you don't know where that's gonna be required.
That's right.
Awesome. Is there anything that anybody could think of that was missed in these tables?
Well, there's a lot of land uses, but
Well, yeah, of course, but I wasn't sure if there was anything that stood out that you guys have been dealing with.
well, we deal with, so like warehousing is warehousing, and in our explanation of general service, I think that's where we have what do you call that, self-storage units? That's the only one we don't have defined, but I think in our definitions, we have it as a general service. I think if you go to warehouse, the description for warehouse, it says, self-storage units will be defined as a general service. I think that's what it says. I can't remember.
Jessica, one kind of formatting thing. Under, we have all of the definitions around A, PBR, C, SX underneath each table, except for the first one. It's above that table.
Yes, I think, yeah.
I'm not sure that we need it reiterated underneath every table.
Okay.
So I would propose just having that listed once.
I know for me, I mean,
I mean, it's nice to have it there, but it's just more places for something to not be the same.
right.
And anybody, when we're looking at it
You're
right now,
right.
we're looking at every single item. So
Right.
it's nice to see it a lot, but when anybody else is looking at this, they're looking for one specific thing, so it's just one page
That's
flipped
true.
back. So I don't think it's a big inconvenience to not
So
have
take it away from under, you were right, Nicole, I found it.
It's under business services, right?
Yes.
And
So
then we
take
don't
it-
have business services.
Take it out from under each table?
Correct,
Just what
and
you're-
just leave it the initial time that it's indicated above the open space and natural resource uses.
Okay.
So maybe fix our definition of warehousing, where it says self-storage mini warehouse are available to the public for rent or lease shall be classified as a business service. But in our chart, it's general service. So can we just fix that? Instead of business service, just put general service? Under definitions to match with the chart of land.
The use of structures for the purpose of providing space for secure storage of household or business goods, including freight terminals and moving and transfer companies, as well as, I'm not saying, business
The last sentence, self-storage or mini warehouses.
uses in which spaces are available to the public for rent or lease shall not be considered warehousing.
Yeah, they're not warehousing is what they're saying. They're more like self-service. You know, that mini storage is
They will fall under,
general service instead of business. See how you have business, well, we have business service, but we don't have that defined in our chart of land uses.
So
So
we
I've
want to
always
just
used
make
general.
self-storage a new line, because realistically, if we say self-storage is approved or conditional on Main Street, I would disagree with that.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a lot, but that's kind of what it was driving you towards. You know, I mean, that's in our current ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, so, all right, let's do.
I think we should make
so
its
don't
own
change,
line.
don't change
Don't change
the
anything.
definition.
I think under commercial uses other, we should make a new line for self-storage units.
Commercial uses,
Commercial
Okay.
uses other?
yeah, I changed it.
Oh, okay.
Because it was kind of all flowing,
The general entertainment?
yeah, with
Okay.
manufacturing and stuff, it just,
All right, so commercial uses other. And then add
I think,
self-storage units?
yeah, I think we should make its own line for self-storage units.
Maybe under general offices? Right
I
where
put it with the
call
other
center?
S's, even though it's not really alphabetical, but I can put it,
Yeah, like, so after sit-downs, after sit-down before snack bar, right there,
Yeah, that's fine.
self-storage?
But it's
Oh,
not
is that where it
alphabetical,
was?
so
No,
it doesn't matter.
we don't have it listed.
no, I started putting it in and then I,
Fit it in where you guys think it should be, but we just
It
should
doesn't matter to
spell
me
it.
as long as it's a line item.
As long as it gets in there, and then what districts should it be in? Because people call all the time. Everybody gets an idea, they want to buy a 1-acre parcel and throw these in. I get calls all the time.
I think it should not be allowed in the Main Street district.
So X on Main Street.
I think urban residential not allowed. And then the rest, I would say conditional.
Is everybody in agreement on that?
Others,
See, right?
village,
Village and residential, what do you think?
village, I would allow it personally,
Okay.
but, I'm open to
Oh, wait, so wait,
everybody
I
else's opinion.
did this wrong. So Main Street, no,
Villages, yes. Urban residential, no.
no.
And then everything
Residential.
else, I think, would be a conditional. But that's just my,
And all these recommendations that we're making, town council could either accept them or deny them, correct?
Correct,
That's correct.
correct. These are just
Or
suggestions
just-
you're making.
We have no authority.
Correct,
have
that's right.
But you're basing it on what you've experienced.
Right, what people have applied for, what
Yeah.
we see working, or what we can recognize wouldn't work for the community.
right.
I mean, to take down 3 or 4 apartment buildings and throw up 3 or 4 mini storage units,
Doesn't work. with the
it doesn't
community.
work. I mean, it wouldn't, we're already in a housing crunch.
Right.
Yeah, so,
And I feel they certainly don't fit what we're going for on our main street in town.
to lose a couple apartment buildings to that would
Right,
not be helpful to the community.
okay. So it is, they're not allowed in the Main Street or urban.
residential.
Everywhere else is conditional permit. Good?
Right, and on the definition, we're going to leave the definition alone, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Of business service, okay, got it. Yes, I think that's the only one I had that I've been asked for, and it wasn't specifically called out on the chart of land uses.
Okay.
I don't know, if anyone else has something they'd like to see on the chart spelled out? So under recreation, let's go back to that one. Recreation facility, that's indoor or outdoor, right? Recreational facilities, that's.
It
like
didn't
a-
specify.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say.
Because sometimes I get questions about, what if I want to use this as an outdoor recreational facility? That just covers everything. And I don't think we need to touch that at all. It covers it.
Okay, so now we are on to uses not listed. I made a few minor, actually mostly, I think you made a lot of these changes, Max. I think the biggest thing from this would be, what, I don't remember what this was that,
So when I was looking at this under B1, it was essentially saying the same thing for development permit by rule, conditional use permit, prohibited uses. I just thought we could make it one
get
and
rid of all
say,
that.
if the proposed land use activity is similar to a land use activity listed in the table of land use activities, the type of permitting will match that of the similar listed land use activity.
Correct. I mean, that spells it out. You don't have to say.
Right, I just was thinking like, it's saying the same thing. If it's similar to something else, it
That's
goes
the permit
something
you
else.
need.
Right.
Right.
so,
But keep C. If the proposed use is similar,
To
so,
a prohibited use.
it shall be prohibited. I would get rid of A and B.
okay,
And just do
that's
C
what
and
I was
D.
gonna ask.
And I would put D above C.
Correct, yes.
Yes.
Start with the positive.
Yes, I agree.
Let me accept that, make sure it looks okay. How's that look?
Get rid of those two.
It's a little delay on updating on my end. but-
Okay. So there was a few minor changes in B2.
Just land use activity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I added at the end, the CEO may require any land use activity not listed in the tables above to obtain a conditional use permit from the planning board. That way, if for some reason somebody was trying to argue, like, no, this land use activity is really similar to this one, you're like, no, it isn't, and it becomes a, I think it is, I think it isn't, then you have the authority to push anything to the planning board.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, I think that's a great addition.
Yeah.
Accessory uses, 1 and 2 to me are contradictory to each other, and they don't really align with what's in the definitions for these either. I don't necessarily think they need to be in here.
Well, there's a few, okay, so we have a paper maker in an abutting town, and then an accessory use is the landfill that we have in our town. So they're two mutually exclusive things. One's making paper, and then we get the accessory use of landfill, of what? Yeah, so sometimes, yeah, it is directly related to the principal use, but is completely different than what they're doing
Okay.
at the factory. So sometimes, yeah, something supports that use, but it's completely different. I don't know, you don't see it too often, but you might occasionally get that.
I'm okay with keeping 1, that makes sense in my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 2,
I agree with, I like having them, because somebody could say, I'm coming looking for approval for a self-storage business in the rural district, which we're saying is conditional use.
Right.
But I'm also putting in a slaughterhouse. That's very different and not related and should be
Correct.
permitted separately.
right. So
Yep.
it's mutually,
Yep.
2 separate permits, 2 different activities.
Yep.
Not related to each other, but could be on the same piece of land.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've just recently done one.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We had a little retail store, and they did do their storage units, which really has nothing to do with their
Right.
retail store.
Yep.
Okay. Expansion of existing uses.
I like how you,
You like the changes?
Mm-hmm.
Change of use. That was a bit so I took that all apart because it was like one big, long run-on sentence.
it is a big sentence.
Yeah, I would almost say, Jessica, would you be willing to try to wordsmith that better
Yep.
and then bring it back to us at the next
Specifically
meeting?
1, right?
Yeah.
Just chop it down to simplify it.
Yeah, and then we can review that at the next meeting, because
I know I'm kind of running out of steam and I'm having a hard
messy.
time. Yeah, it's messy.
Yeah, that one we'll come back to. Circle back to that one. Change of use.
Your second question here, is this in a section of the ordinance, a new permit would be required for activities where no building or structural changes are,
right, I didn't see an 8.2. That was my question.
8.2C?
At least in this article, there's no 8.2.
Oh, I think it just drives you to that section of the ordinance.
yeah, I think it does.
But do we start over the sections in each article?
I think it's just
Oh, never mind. Just,
There is an,
there is an 8.2,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance, so it's just telling the reader, go get more information
Yep.
in section 8.2.
so that part is good, too.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, it's just E1 that's,
Yeah, that one's.
Yeah,
there.
it's weird.
Yeah, sure is.
Dimensional standards.
Oh. So my whole thing on maximum lot coverage, I'm just gonna go right there, is I don't think we should regulate how much of their lot they need to cover, because development, I mean, commercial development, they have all kinds of requirements for natural resource protection. The topography will dictate how much of their lot they can cover. Our setbacks and buffering will also dictate how much of their lot they can't use. So I don't know, do we really need to spell out a number? I don't think we do.
is this for home construction?
It's for any
Everything.
construction.
Because what if we look at a solar field? Are they only limited to 10%
Yeah, that should
lot
not
coverage
be,
in the
Right.
rural district?
yeah, that should
Or-
not be.
Yeah, I just think like.
I think
for some-
maximum, I think lot coverage is based on impervious surface, and I don't know what a solar farm falls under for that.
Right, but if somebody came along in the commercial district and wants to do a car dealership and they buy a 20-acre parcel and they want to pave and put structures on just about the entire thing, why would we, I mean, like I said, the Natural Resource Protection Act, you know, all the rules, the topography is all going to dictate pretty much how much of their land they can use. I don't think in the commercial district, we say you only can use 30% of that
So
commercial land.
I think you have to be careful in reducing this. If you think of a house on a tiny little lot, they are now allowed to build another house and accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
And I think this is the only thing that you have to really regulate any of, I mean, aside from setback requirements, and that sort of thing. This is your only way to regulate that.
I think our numbers are small, with 10%.
Really small, right, even, yeah, I mean, residential,
I mean, we could look at maybe increasing everything to 50%
or
and then the commercial.
80%, and leave 20% not usable. If you have a tiny little quarter-acre lot, and you want that second ADU and parking, yeah, I mean,
Well, didn't we have this issue with the warehouse by the railroad tracks? When they weren't allowed to use a certain amount of the
of their
property?
property.
Yeah, and it created a real problem
It's
for
very
them.
restrictive. Yeah, it is. I'm sure people look at our ordinance and choose to not develop here if they're buying commercial
Yeah, I
and
mean, I think
industrial
it
land,
was
and they're like,
turning
no, thank
business
you.
away by restricting it too much.
Yeah, I can't develop
So
any.
another option, I see what you're saying. Another option would be your minimum lot size per dwelling unit. If you keep it the same for lot area per additional dwelling unit, that would essentially, yeah, that would reduce the issue with the maximum lot coverage for like commercial businesses.
But aren't we trying to encourage more dwellings and encourage commercial businesses to come here? I mean, I don't know. I just, if there's one thing that I think would be a turnoff, and I've heard
That
it
would be
from
it.
developers before, is I'm really, no, I looked at that 5-acre parcel, but I only can develop 30% of it. I'm not, no, thank you. I'm not
Right.
interested.
I think commercial and industrial, we can all agree needs to be bumped up to more.
What's the purpose of it?
I guess to make sure that you keep plenty of lawn and,
Why?
and
If you're away
forest.
from your boundaries the way it's supposed to be,
The setbacks, correct, right, like,
why wouldn't that cover it?
I don't
mean, it's
know,
like
I'm just
you
saying
buy a
that
2-acre lot and you want to put a car
that's the
dealership
comment
there.
I've received most in 12, or going on 12 years, from people that look at things and read our ordinance, and then when they get to that, they're like, well, that won't work for me.
Yeah.
And that, and end of discussion. So I'm just letting you know.
Oh, it would make
That
good.
turns developers
So
off.
you want to bump it up to 50?
I don't know what the
Let's
magic
start with the
number is.
Main Street district.
I don't know if you let the town council decide.
Right, right. They either want it or they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, I'm telling you, that is a restriction that I've had people say, you know, that have come into the office or called on the phone, and when they get to that section, that it doesn't work for them when they look at that percentage that they
I agree
can use or
100%.
not use of their property.
What
That
is the
is a turnoff.
maximum you have between buildings?
Depends what district you're in.
But I mean, it should be that, if you have to be 10 foot from the lot line, then you can build up to within 10 feet of it
Correct, there is
and
setbacks
use the whole lot.
on the chart, but that's not what this is saying.
No, no.
This is saying that you can't use more than 30% or 50% of
Of
the
your
land
property.
that you buy.
You try to tell them,
And
well, you
then
can't,
they
you
decide
can't tax
right
me
then
on
and
that
there.
land. I can't use it.
Correct.
I mean, I could make the argument, I think, that in the rural district, the setbacks are 40 feet, and if somebody came in and built a Walmart distribution center in the rural district and set it back to 40 feet from the property line on all sides, that would change the characteristics of that area pretty dramatically. And so,
But do you want that business in town, you know, in Fairfield?
yes.
Change your tax.
But you tie in their hands so they can't.
Well, 10%, absolutely. 10% I think is way too small.
Yeah, I think that's pretty,
That is really, yeah. And even on commercial and industrial land, we don't, those lots are not that big in those zones, the land that you have left.
Right.
And to restrict it to what you have there, because the land itself has wetlands, it has ledge, it has
Natural
natural
restrictions.
things that prohibit you from necessarily using all of it anyways. So why are we spelling out? I don't know, I'm just letting you know that that is a deterrent. So it can stay.
I would say you could use
Should
as
be
much
talked about.
of your lot as you need, as long as you maintain a safe zone for fire equipment or whatever.
Right, you have to have a perimeter.
well,
around
yeah, it
the
has,
construction.
it still has the setbacks.
And I think anything inside of the setback should be, you could use for anything you wanted. You could build a building right up to that 10-foot line, and if they have the money and they want to do it, then that's,
And it would come to us in front of us as a conditional use permit, so we'd always have our chance to say, this doesn't work for fire and police access, and this is too obstructive on the neighboring properties. But it
Buffering.
doesn't exclude somebody from coming to town and saying, I want to develop 75% of a lot in the industrial zone with my business.
Right,
It
here's my
doesn't
plan.
automatically kick them out the door to Oakland or Skowhegan.
Right, like it is now.
So you're
Right.
proposing none?
I don't know what they want to propose. I'm
We
just
could,
saying
we could go
it's
with none
deterrent
until
the
it
way
becomes a
is.
problem.
right?
Right,
At least it might attract more businesses.
Right.
it might, because this definitely, I'm letting you know,
Oh,
has been
it would.
a conversation ender.
I know they had problems up here with it, so.
Now you take somebody like McDonald's, I mean, they got a design for the building, and it's the same design throughout the country, and if it won't fit on that lot,
Right.
guess we won't come to your town.
So it,
I think while you guys are discussing that, I'm just gonna use
okay.
I'll be right back.
So I don't know, you guys,
I would say that
Well, let's
use
start with
as
none,
much
see
as their
what happens.
property.
Can we think of any reason it'll be a problem?
I can't think of any reason it would be a problem, because you have, in your next section, 7, you know, you've got your environment and neighborhood protection standards. So there it talks about your buffering and screening. So,
What about stormwater capacity? Would it
correct,
be an
you have a
undue-
stormwater section, talks about it.
It would,
Everything needs to be addressed.
we as a board would have to ensure that the stormwater infrastructure being developed or the municipal stormwater infrastructure that's expected to handle this increase in stormwater flow
Right.
was
to handle it.
sufficient.
Right. All of that, right, all those engineering calculations.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your stormwater going if you're going to pave this entire parcel
Right.
you own? Right. So it's handled in other ways.
Realistically, we're not going to get somebody to come in here and put 100% coverage of the available area.
Correct, they can't, because the topography
Right.
typically won't allow it. There'll be some stream, wetland, or ditch line, or outcropping of ledge or something. There's always something on every piece of land that you can't use 100% of it. For some reason or other. I don't know. I just,
Yeah, I'm okay with it till it becomes a problem.
How many businesses do you think we've lost because of that?
I don't know. I have no idea, but it's a conversation I've had with people just calling and questioning, where in your land use ordinance is, you know, so you point them to the chart,
Yeah,
and they're saying, well, is that what that means? Yes, that is what that means.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't change what the words say.
no, I agree, we should change it to none and see what happens.
Or just remove that whole category.
Yeah,
You could do that too.
and you just
Or
have
if
to
you want
stay
to change the
inside of
number, or think
whatever's.
about it, come back at the next meeting and see if there's a number that,
I don't know how you can set a number, because it depends on how large their lot is.
correct. It's just a restrictive,
I say we just take it right off completely. Don't even have it on there. Because they have all the setbacks anyways.
correct. And then all of the stormwater is talked about in your ordinance, all of the
Right.
buffering is talked about in your ordinance. So you have protections built in other areas.
I think that's a red flag for businesses coming to Fairfield.
I would have to believe that, yeah.
I would say let them use all the lot they have, and
Okay, we've
But
made our
the
decision.
setbacks.
We're
Okay.
striking it
Just remove-
Entirely.
entirely.
Do you want to leave that line
Delete it.
in there and just say none?
Nope.
No, just remove that whole category, so it's not,
Although, I don't know. Somebody's probably going to question, like, what is it? So if we have it removed, they're just going to come and question it. So would it be better to just say none so it's spelled out?
Either way, it's none.
Either way, it's none. It's just, if somebody looks at this without talking to our code enforcement officer, they may be like, well, what is the maximum lot coverage? So it just creates a question.
Is that something every town has?
I don't think so.
I
They
kind of
did have
think generally, and it has more to do with impervious surface than, and I do think your numbers are really low. I think this is something that a lot of towns that don't want a lot of accessory dwelling units and they don't want two houses on one lot, this is something that they're gonna embrace as a way to regulate that.
Well, I think we have lot area per dwelling unit and per additional dwelling unit that helps us.
I would suggest putting none for them.
I think none is
I think
personally
that,
better.
I agree, I think it's gonna create questions as to like, what is it? What do
Because it
you-
is a common thing that you see in ordinances.
Right,
and
it is.
Anybody who's developing a business in Fairfield likely would be looking for it to be written.
Are you guys okay
That's
with?
fine, sure.
Okay.
As long as it's not those tiny numbers that have been turning people off for years.
Can we talk minimum lot size per dwelling unit and per additional dwelling unit in commercial and industrial, and why that's none?
That should not be none. I would suggest the same as residential, 30,000. If you want to build in commercial or industrial, and you want to definitely put your home in those districts, I say that 30,000
Hang on, hang on one second.
first line,
The first line,
where.
commercial, industrial, not none.
I agree with, I was thinking village requirements or residential, and I like that residential is more restrictive than village, because we realistically, our commercial and industrial zones, we aren't encouraging residential development,
Right.
but we don't want to stop it.
So you're
Right.
saying 30,000?
I would
30
recommend that.
and then 20 for additional, per additional.
Yeah.
30,000 for both of
Primary,
them?
and then 20,000 as for the additional dwellings. Or. And I would keep the principal structure, because it's not always dwellings that are going in these, you know what I mean? Like, her principal structure, I would, on the top line, I wouldn't put per, or put a slash dwelling unit, structure slash dwelling unit. Like, I wouldn't strike the
So
word
minimum lot
structure.
size, square feet per,
Principal structure slash dwelling unit. Because it could be that somebody buys in the village and they're going to put their laundromat there, you know? So I wouldn't just slash structure, because it could be a commercial development.
what about for additional dwelling unit?
Or principal structure. Don't slash that out of there, you know, like, or structure, dwelling unit or structure, because, or principal structure. So again, going back to if there's a non-compatible structure built, the slaughterhouse might be the accessory structure to
The laundromat.
the laundromat, yeah, right. So we can't just look at it as dwellings, like places to live, because the ordinance is for both commercial
Everything. Yep.
and living.
So my cousin lives in New Hampshire, and like, his son-in-law gave him part of his lot, and they built a house over there for them to retire in.
So
It's all on the
share.
same lot. and-
Right, one ownership, and that's what this law is heading towards, allowing more houses, more density.
So if we go back to minimum lot size per structure slash dwelling unit, the only ones that we changed were commercial and industrial. Is everything else good in everybody's opinion?
I think so, as far as the size goes, it has been working for us.
Is this, when we look at the additional dwelling unit slash principal structure and these lot size requirements, is this going to be directly linked to ADUs?
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed one ADU, no matter what they have.
Well, I mean, this says that I have to have 40,000 surplus square feet if I live in the rural residential zone.
Yeah, you're
I'm
right.
not allowed one. I am if I have
Wait, no, hang on.
40,000 feet.
No,
This
That's-
doesn't apply to the first ADU.
It's,
Correct.
this doesn't
Only the
apply.
setbacks require the first ADU. I thought.
Yes.
Right.
This would be an additional house on the lot.
Another
Like if
one.
you lived in the rural residential and you had your house, like you were just talking about with your friends that, and then somebody wanted to build another house, and you're like, sure, you can, that would require an additional 40,000 square feet.
But everybody's going to, after January 1st, everyone's allowed their ADU, no matter what they have for land.
Right,
As long as it fits within the setbacks.
Correct.
right.
I think for the lot area per additional dwelling unit, we should not say principal structure, we should say accessory structure.
Good idea.
Yes. Oops.
Which one would it be on?
The second one, so
Okay. Yeah, okay.
additional dwelling unit.
So-
Secondary structure.
Are we good with the,
I think I'm good with the lot sizes. I mean, Nicole would be the one to know if it's been working or not.
It has been working the way that you guys have it. I have not encountered any problems.
okay. What about street frontage for sewer? In the village, it's NA.
Should be 50 feet,
I agree. I was thinking the same as Main
because we
Street.
do have public sewer in Shawnee. And there is vacant land there to be developed.
But it is accurate to be NA for the rural residential and the rural, correct?
There's no public sewer there,
Okay.
correct, in any of those districts.
Would you suggest 50?
50 feet in village.
Is it true that there's no unsewered in the Main Street district?
As far as I know, nobody has a septic system, and if they did, they'd have to attach to the public system
Okay.
if their system fails. So if there is one, it hasn't failed, it hasn't been brought to my attention, but should their system ever fail, or urban residential, if they have one, there's a few, and they're still functioning, so we're not, the ordinance doesn't force them to attach.
Right.
But if they do fail, then they do have to attach to the public sewer system, because it's right
Yeah.
there at their house. And
So all the other street frontages for unsewered look good. Is that accurate?
unless you guys want to change that, it seems to be working the way you have it spelled out.
Whatever works for you.
Would rural residential, we want to consider reducing to the same as residential?
It would make the houses closer together. So I don't have a problem with it. If you want to be less restrictive, I mean, obviously, we need housing. So the more restrictive this is, the more difficult it is for people to chop land up into smaller parcels. So,
That would be a suggestion that I would have reduced 200 to 150 to match residential for rural residential, but,
and maybe on rural, decrease that to 200?
yep.
So rural residential decreased to 150 and rural reduced to 200?
That would help landowners that want to sell off a lot.
Front setbacks? 50 is a lot.
For rural residential, it is. I think that I don't know why it can't be 25, like residential, commercial, and industrial.
I
don't
agree with
understand. Unless you feel you want people further from the roadway in the blue.
I mean, I look at the blue as kind of like the next area of development for Fairfield,
Right.
residence-wise. And I think we should be encouraging development there.
So 25 feet or 30 feet? What do you think?
I think 30 might be a good compromise because then it's a little bit more restrictive than residential, but less restrictive than rural.
Correct.
Do you want to keep rural at 50?
I think it should be
Depends.
Why are
more.
we picking on them?
Yeah, why are we picking on them? I don't know. Why are we making them make these big, long driveways? I don't know. I wasn't here when this was.
I was thinking like it would depend on the road. Are they gonna widen the road sometime? Like College Avenue and Main
True,
Street
that does happen
was a
on
two-lane
those,
road, and that's
yeah.
why the houses are so close to that.
Right. But,
You know, they don't have 25 feet on most of the houses down College Avenue.
but a
That's
lot of
'cause they
the
built
rural
up
district is
4
not
lanes.
state road either. I don't know. That is very restrictive to make them push 50 feet back from the road if they want to be.
How far is 50 feet? Am I like 50 feet from that wall?
You know, 30.
No.
That's around 30.
Yeah.
Oh, these are 8-foot tables.
Right.
Sure.
So that's probably 30.
I mean, you can change it to 40 and see how it goes. I think once you
I think
get,
40, because I think having some level of separation between them
Yeah.
makes sense. Like, otherwise, why are we having separate districts?
Correct, right.
I think as you work with this ordinance, these little things, you're not gonna have to hire like Katie Cog to tweak. I think these are things that you guys can change on your own once you get the majority of this
Yep.
worked out.
Yeah.
Not that I don't wanna help you guys, I just,
We've appreciated your help
Yes.
tremendously.
No, you guys have been great to work with. So side and rear setbacks for the principal structure, I do not understand why in the industrial district, I mean, I do, but it's still,
I wrote, keep it simple in my notes. Why don't we go to 10 feet, just like commercial? Why are we,
Yeah, industrial, I think. Agreed.
if you're 10 feet,
10 feet. So get rid of that C section.
yeah, I would say get rid of that whole C section and just go 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. Why? Why?
Oh, wait, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. So also the thing under it, that's 2 question marks.
Yep.
And then the,
Side and, instead of rear, you have a read and read, so side and rear.
oh, thank you.
Yep.
So for that one too, that would also be 10 feet?
Why not?
Okay.
If we want to encourage industrial development.
So let's go back to the other districts for side and rear setbacks.
Has it been working as is, Nicole?
It is, it has. Yep.
Then I'd say why mess with it if it's working?
Do you want to keep rural at 40?
For a side setback,
I think that could be shrunk to 30,
yeah,
since we shrunk the front setback,
true. Why not?
and that's still the most restrictive at 30.
Correct.
40's pretty big for a side
It is.
setback. Accessory structures, do you want none in the Main Street district?
Yes, because some of the buildings touch each other here.
Okay.
And I was thinking even in village and urban residential for accessory, I don't know, 10 feet is good.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
Oh, 10 feet between buildings.
it's really tight, yeah. Because if one's 10, the other's 10, they only have 20 feet.
Right.
From the two, yes, so 10 is good. Scratch
So-
what I was gonna say.
Side and rear setbacks for accessory dwelling units. I don't remember where I got these numbers from.
Accessory structures. Side and rear setbacks for accessory dwelling units. Why is that different, a different number?
What, which one? So the top one that was there, accessory structures besides accessory dwelling units.
Oh, okay, besides, okay, got it.
So,
So like
I
a
don't-
shed can go 5
Yeah.
feet because it's not occupied by a human.
Right.
Can we put side and rear setbacks in accessory structures? Because it's like, it just says accessory structures besides accessory dwelling units. Well, what is that? Is that front setbacks, side or rear setbacks?
She's saying not including, maybe we should, instead of besides, does not include accessory dwelling units.
I like that, but I'm saying it should state side and rear setbacks, accessory structures does not include accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
Because right now, it's not saying if those are front setbacks or
Right.
side and
So
rear
you're
setbacks.
suggesting accessory structures, side and rear setbacks does
No.
not include
Just start
accessory?
with side and rear. Side and rear, so add the word side and rear in front of accessory structures.
Correct,
So it's consistent with the principal structure
correct. And the accessory dwelling unit.
and does not include accessory dwelling units. Then they drop down one more block. Oh, if it's a dwelling unit, I gotta be 10 feet. If it's a shed, I gotta be 5 feet. If it's a garage, I'm 5 feet.
I got a garage behind me that's almost on the line.
Yeah, I know. That's why this ordinance must have come into play all those years ago, because of all the structures built on the line or over the line. And height of buildings, anybody?
So hang on. These are good for side and rear setbacks for accessory structures, not including accessory dwelling units, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Side and rear setbacks for accessory dwelling units, are these good with everybody?
I think they're good.
Why is the rural residential more than the rural?
I think I took it from side and rear setbacks from the principal structure. I think I copied
Should be the
that.
same, right?
I think that should be the same, or rural should be more restrictive, because that's how it is for
Yeah.
principal structure.
I'd go to 20 feet for rural and bump it down to maybe 15 feet for rural residential.
Sure. Yep.
Hang on, this thing is freaking impossible to see. The table got long and now, so rural residential,
Go to 15 feet
15,
and then 20 feet on your rural.
20, so.
Yep. How you have it right now, Jessica.
It's right, okay.
Yep.
So maximum building height,
I think they're good the way they are.
okay.
I don't know what you guys think. Tall buildings in Main Street and commercial
Yep.
and industrial.
Yep. Have you had anybody push back on any like residential areas wanting a taller structure?
No, I think at one time it was KVCC did their science building, and because it was on a knoll, it was taller than the 35 feet. That's the only one that's ever pushed up against the height.
Would a 3-story residential structure be above 35 feet?
Might be, depends on
It's
how
on
it's
the pitch of the
constructed.
roof.
Because I could see like a 3-story structure being built.
In urban residential.
Yeah. Like
So
that.
we could go higher in urban
I mean,
residential.
I don't know.
Right, they could
what the
take down a
correct-
few houses and decide to do a multi-unit,
Right. I'm thinking 3 stories isn't that big for a lot of this town.
correct?
And if this is restricting the ability to build a 3-story structure.
But they wouldn't have a parking space.
Well,
They would if they bought up
Right.
a whole block
right.
and put all the residential homes down and built a, 100-unit apartment. So you could,
I just don't know what the correct number for that would be.
I don't know.
So you want me to look up for that, what a 3-story building,
Yeah,
What's
it's like an
typical?
average 3-story building.
Is it 40 feet or
and this is for specifically the rural, the urban,
urban residential? And
Urban residential, I'd say village maybe.
Main Street? Well, Main Street,
Main
we're already
Street's
at
big,
75.
yeah. And then maybe residential.
Right. Because sometimes the structure will have the elevator, and that will give you another 8 feet that you're not thinking of, right? Especially if it's 3-story, they would need to put the elevator.
I know Waterville's seeing a lot of 3-story buildings going in, so.
all right. So let me make sure I got this, so village. Okay.
we're almost there.
I know, my computer's about to die. So
Good.
B1.
Listen to me? I'm fading out over here.
I know, me too. I'm like, ooh.
We said this was gonna be a doozy of a,
We were right. Whoa.
Within the Main Street and urban residential districts, the required front setback may be reduced to the average front setback of the two closest buildings if less than the listed requirement. To me, that's a lot of, that's pretty verbose. Is this something that comes into play often?
No.
I think let's ditch it completely, and
Yeah.
then if somebody wanted a variance, they could ask for it.
They could say, hey, look at him, look at him.
Right.
Let me
Yep.
do it. And then you guys can talk about it.
And realistically, this is something that I think we'd want to bring to the fire department to say, is this enough space? Is this too close for fire suppression needs?
What about 2? I suggested getting rid of 2.
In the industrial district, that one?
No,
Oh, two,
within-
get rid of 2?
Because that's, I mean, that's going to be
Oh, yeah, get rid of that, yeah, for sure.
within the, yeah, so now we're down to the industrial district one. If you guys are good with those suggested edits. Two, that one was kind of weird.
But the industrial district?
No,
No.
within the Main
Main
Street
Street.
district.
The side setback required is eliminated.
I think that, yes, it would be increasing in nonconformity, but we have no side setback in the Main Street district, so,
So just leave it?
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, realistically,
That's
there
the
is,
only place you'll have that.
right, and it's already kind of a moot point because we have no side setback in the Main Street district.
Okay. 4,
For some of those units that are already there. Right?
minimum lot area per.
I think that seems okay. Because,
Well, didn't we get rid of the minimum? Oh, okay.
Minimum lot area, so in the residential district,
right now, the
Which is
residential
30,000.
district would be 20,000 square feet for an additional dwelling unit. However, if you have public sewer, then it can be reduced to 10,000, which matches the village.
which is correct, because if you have public sewer, you don't have to worry about owning enough land
Right,
to
to the
support a
septic.
septic.
Yep.
Did you say the minimum lot area in the residential is 20,000 square?
That's for the additional dwelling unit.
And-
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that's what this says, right?
Correct.
For
Okay.
an additional dwelling.
So does that also mean that if there's sewer available, my accessory structure can go down to 10,000 feet?
Depends what district you're in, which,
This
I see
residential
what you're saying,
district.
because we have dwelling unit slash accessory structure.
Right.
So I think we should, in that pair, or in that note at the end, we should put, within the residential district, the minimum lot area per additional dwelling unit or accessory structure may be reduced to 10,000 square feet per dwelling unit.
Can you repeat that?
Yep, so
Within-
what you're adding right now,
Yep.
so delete, that's not what I was saying, but
Oh,
because in the table, we have it additional dwelling unit slash accessory structure, we should also have slash accessory structure in 4. So after dwelling unit slash accessory structure.
may be reduced to 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, as you're doing right now.
And then get rid of per dwelling unit.
Correct. Yep.
Just strike that word. If the unit will be connected to public. So,
Mhm.
no matter if it's the dwelling unit or the other structure, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right,
Last sentence, looks good.
cool, my computer is dead.
Good job.
Is that it?
That is it for this section.
Good job,
Next
team.
section,
Yeah.
Wake me up.
Anybody want to call the meeting?
I move.
Are there any other by the public?
How many public
By
statements?
the planning board? Any members? I look for a motion to vote, adjourn.
I move we adjourn our meeting.
Second,
I second him.
all in favor?
All right.
We are closed.
Awesome, thank you, everybody.